call this meeting of the Davenport Community School District Board of Directors to order. And I had to do that. This is the last time I'll be gaveling in the meeting, and we wanted to make sure that we were on time for a difference or a change. We've completed the reception. I think we move on to regular meeting. Oh, we did. Huh? Oh, yeah. So I'd like, I already called it to order. Director Beck, would you please read our board priorities?
Gladly. Our priorities. The Davenport School Board establishes the following priorities to ensure the academic success of all students. Provide leadership and direction to improve the overall learning environment in our classrooms, schools, and district, including the health, safety, security, and happiness of students and staff. Direct and support actions, programs, and activities which reduce the impacts of poverty on our students, their families, and our community.
And I know Director Gosa was here. Director Gosa, if you would get up here and read our mission and vision statements, that would be great.
What do you want me to do this? To enhance each student's abilities by providing a quality education enriched by our diverse community. Vision statement, education that challenges conventional thinking, prepares all students to compete in a global society, and inspires our students, parents, staff, and community to answer the question, what if?
Thank you. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Vice President Hayes for the next section.
In the past, President Johansson has taken care of this, but now it is my honor to take care of this. This is a special part of the meeting tonight where there are some people who would like to say a few words about departing board members. There's no time limit on this particular issue, so if you would like to say something for either President Johansson or Director DeSalvo, please feel free to come to the podium now. Mayor Clips has to leave, so I asked that he would come first. And if Ken Crumwoody could come second, and all of those others can follow thereafter.
Well, thank you very much for this really honor to be able to be here this evening. It's great to see all of you who I know as friends as well as community leaders, and so many other people here in the room today that fall into that same category. You know, I want to thank obviously Ralph and Julie, as this being their last meeting, for your, and all of you who have made the decision to put your name and put yourself out there to try to make a difference for your community. I've gotten to work with many of you in a variety of different settings over the last, actually 32 years that I've been in Davenport, the last 4 as mayor. And I know you're all committed in your own ways to make a difference in the lives of the children and families in our community. You know, as a father of 4 West High School graduates and now the grandfather of another 5 that are going to end up probably at Central, who are living close to, go to Madison and Washington and Sudlow, this is important to me. As I've talked to former superintendents, and we talk about this and understand the importance of you're educating thousands of kids in our community. And as we, as a city, and we're working hard and continuing to work hard, and I know Mayor-elect Mattson is equally committed to it as we move forward. We have to be together because it's one city, one school district, is one solid front that we need to do to make sure that kids and families are served in this community and how we can work together. I want to thank all of you for helping us to develop an ever more robust lines of communication, which is extremely important, but also the idea that together this, I think one of the things that I have to mention as well, we have a tendency at times not to toot our own horns enough in this district. And this is an opportunity. This is a great school district. We have to celebrate. One of the things that we need to understand to celebrate is our diversity is a positive thing we need to celebrate. I can say for my own benefit with my kids and family, it's made them not only great students, but also great human beings in this current climate that we face in our world. And that inclusiveness is extremely important. So I wish I could stay longer. I've got another opportunity that I have to go to in Moline. It's at a little after about 6:15. But I want to make sure that I made a point of being here for what you do and what, as the new board members will be seated, as they get seated as well, the importance of the work that you do truly makes a difference in not only the lives of our children and families, but the future of our community. You are making the leaders, you have made leaders, and you've had the opportunity to make a difference. And again, this is more first official. I've got the chance to meet Dr. Gabilski, but officially from this role, welcome to the community as well. I'm very pleased with you being the one helping to provide the education for my kids and grandkids, but also all of you for your work. All of you I know will do a great job, and I'm delighted to be here. So thank you all very much for your work. Thank you for the work that you will do, that you have done, and obviously the lives will be changed well into the future because of the work that you did, and all of the great teachers and administrators in this district as well. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this is a great organization, and I want to thank you all for all the work you do. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Well, following the mayor, I don't know if this is pretty important. I just wanted to stop by and first of all congratulate the new board members, and a special congratulations to both Julie and Ralph for their new adventure in life, getting off the board. You're going to be able to watch The Voice now on Monday nights. Anyway, I never had an opportunity to work with Julie on the board, but as a board member, and she as a parent, worked with her quite a bit. And Julie, you were just absolutely phenomenal, helping us in this district to get where we are today. Thank you so much. You're such a hard worker, and your son was a student member of the board when I was a board member, and we thank you and your family so much for everything that you've done for the Davenport School District. So congratulations to you. Ralph, what can I say? I was on the board for 9 years with Ralph. I used to have blonde hair. Ralph and I go back quite a long time. So I just have a couple of great memories that I want to share. We went through a lot together, making a lot of decisions in this district, from closing schools to opportunities of having so many joyous occasions in the districts also. This, like the mayor said, this is a phenomenal school district. And after I left this school district as a principal, I worked for the Area Education Agency as a consultant to principals, and I worked in 21 school districts in this AEA. And I would put Davenport against any school district that we have in the AEA or the state of Iowa. It is a great district, and I'm proud to say my kids graduated from Davenport. I worked in Davenport for 35 years, and my wife worked in Davenport for 40 years, and we can only say good things about this district. Ralph, your leadership has been outstanding. And there were a couple of situations that I trusted you, and one I want to share. Ralph is the only person that has ever taught me how to climb up a down escalator. At an IASB convention where I fell down the escalator, cut my leg open, and he stood up there and laughed the entire time. So thank you for doing that. Ralph and Rich and I did a lot during our time on the board with the Iowa School Board Association. We were involved with workshops. We gave workshops at conventions. We also were involved with the ISB leadership team, which I'm very proud that we all three graduated. In fact, our former president also was a graduate. I don't know if anybody else, but that was a great thing, and they really helped us to be stronger leaders on the school board. So, and Ralph, the other thing, if you remember, waiting for the world to change. In one of the workshops we gave, I'm still waiting. So anyway, congratulations, and thanks to both of you for everything you've done in this district, and enjoy your time.
Hello. For those who don't know me, I'm Jay Chelf. I'm the principal at North High School, and I wanted to say a few words this evening. First, to all board members, because I respect everything that all of you guys do. You work amazing hours to help our community and our district, and you don't get thanked enough, but I want to thank each and every one of you. Ralph, it's been great working with you. Really respect all the things that you've done on the school board in the time that I've been here in Davenport. And Julie, Julie's done an awful lot for both North High School and the community. She wears a lot of hats. At one time, she would come into my office with a question, and I had to stop her and say, hang on, Julie, which hat are you wearing today? Because that might impact my answer. Are you a parent? Are you the booster president, which she held that position at North? Or are you my boss? Because I may have a different answer to your question, even though it's the same question. But Julie wore all of those hats well. She worked tirelessly in each one of those roles. Her son was in the first cohort at North in the dual graduation program and helped us forge that trail into the great program that it is today. She served as our booster president, athletic booster president, and even stayed on after Anthony had graduated until we could find a suitable replacement. And she did just an outstanding job doing that, as well as the last 4 years working on the board. We as a community are very fortunate, Julie, to have had you all these years, and congratulate you that you're stepping away so that you can enjoy other things in life, and really want to thank you for all your service that you've provided here to the students, staff, and community here at Davenport. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mike Matson. Speaking of the hats, I'll talk to you a little bit in a teacher hat, mayor-elect hat, and a person who lives in Davenport. So I grew up here, and things I want to point out, caring. People care when they step up and do these things you guys are doing, when they're doing what you guys are doing. So we care about kids, we care about the city, we care about our school, and Mr. Johansson and Mr. Salvo, as I've got to know both of you, and really personally, Julie, I want to say, me and Carrie wanted me to pass on, and to Mr. Potts, who's still staying. The times we've had sitting down, just us four, and we struggled through and worked through and coordinated getting this MOU done. And we always say, as the schools go, the city goes, and vice versa. I firmly believe that, and as my hat as the mayor coming into the city of Davenport, our relationship with all of you guys, my commitment to you, and I believe for the council, is to whatever you can ask of us, we are happy to work with you, and vice versa. We would ask, and we need to formalize, meaning that we've done it, so let's now have more conversations, because it's about relationships. And those times we spent together in the little room down the hallway, I think, and discuss, then you get to know people. My times, Mr. Johansson, Ralph, that I've spent with you talking, getting to know people, and I think that's what it's all about. So we as a city and you as a school board, we need to sit down more and talk and understand and work together, because this place is, as Mayor Klipp said, this is a great city, this is a great school, and when people say things, I say, come on, come into Central High School, come into West High School, I say the high schools in North, and see what we're doing, because yes, as in any organization, there are things that we need to work on, and of course, you guys know there are things you need to work on, and we can do this together with parents, with community members, to make Davenport the greatest place that it can be for all our children. And so I just applaud you for doing your job, and for the new members, applaud you for stepping up and doing that, and the commitment that you have, and that we will provide and work together will only take us to the next level. And I know there's challenges ahead, but I'm happy to work with you and do that. And then, Ralph and Julie, it's been a pleasure, and I loved our conversations. I loved your passion. I loved your work. And Mr. Potts, you might not remember, but many years ago, I came to Sudlow as an RTC, and you were welcoming and friendly. And so that's my commitment, that that's how I say we want Davenport to be a safe, stable, and welcoming community. I want that to be of our schools and our students. And for anybody who's wondering about our school system, just come in and walk around and see what it's like. That's what I tell everybody. That's what I'll continue to tell everybody. If you want to see what's going on, just go in the building. Go into a classroom and see a teacher doing the wonderful things that they're doing at whatever school it is. And my daughter's now teaching here in this district. My wife's a teacher. I'm a teacher. My other daughter's a teacher. So we believe in the stuff. We believe in education. It's important. And I thank you guys all so much for what you do. And I wish you two the best. Thank you.
I'm Deborah Stevenson, and I've been in the district for 29 years. And thank you, Rich, for letting me go ahead of you. I heard him say he was going next, and I know he's really long-winded, and I gotta go. So. Julie, I haven't had the opportunity to get to know you that well, but I've sat in lots of expulsion hearings where you've been one of the directors there. And I say this not just to you, but to all of you. It's a thankless job, and I just thank you all for that. I've worked with Ralph a little bit more, and I think when he invited me the last time I saw him, I think he thought I was going to say something good about him, but, and I am. Ralph, I don't know if you remember this, but when you hold positions like you hold, you want to be able to say, you know, that you just really, really, really made a huge difference, and that you made some changes that people would remember a lifetime. And I can think of two of those things. The first thing I remember is in 2016. Before the expulsion hearing, before we'd even go to the board, there was what they called the pre-expulsion hearings. And it would be the parents and the hearing officer and an advocate if the parent chose an advocate. And we'd be in the basement of the old administration center. And it was, I won't even describe what it was like. But anyway, we went through that process with this one particular student, and the expulsion hearing was like a couple of days after that. And the parent chose to share with the board what that experience was like prior to the expulsion hearing. And she was really, really emotional, and, you know, to have your child potentially be expelled and then go through the pre-expulsion and then to come here and deal with you people all over again, a different group of people. And she just really, really, really unleashed. And my role at that time, I prepared the families, you know, this is going to get you everywhere, this is going to get you nowhere, you know, just some simple etiquette. And for the first time, you turned to me after that parent got done and you said, well, Deb, what do you think? And I said, well, if I'm going to be very honest with you, it is very grueling. And if we can eliminate that step, then we really should. And what better way to get the facts than to get them yourself and not depend on a report. And I don't know what you said to the superintendent at that time, but the very next day, a memo went out saying that there would be no more pre-expulsion hearings and that all the information would come directly to you guys right off the bat. So that was huge. That was huge. The next thing I remember is the following year, with anytime kids were expelled before reentry, they had to undergo an evaluation. And anybody that knows me, that I hate when people assume. You know, I always want you to verify. And at that time, all of the students before reentering had to go under some type of psych evaluation. And it was really demeaning to assume that everybody expelled needed to have a psych evaluation before they returned. And it was that particular incident that, again, you went to the superintendent and said, well, that's not exactly what the board policy says. And so we should not, you know, make everyone go through this. And so I just said all of that to say, you've heard me say in expulsion meetings before, and I say this to all of you, every single kid, and I know your job is tough. Nobody wants to expel students, but I'm going to say to all of you again, every time you have a student that's sitting before you, if you can't look at that student as your child, your grandchild, your niece, your nephew, then at least look at that child as a friend of one of your grandchildren or your nieces and nephews, because it makes all the difference in the world when you can make, you know, a direct correlation between what's sitting in front of you and the decisions that you have to make. Good luck to you.
Well, thank you, Deb, for getting everybody worked up here, and I guess that's why everybody was coming up to me and saying, can I go before you? I'm really not all that long-winded, but I tell you what, it is kind of nice to have this open time here, and Mary doesn't have that buzzer to push here at 5 minutes, so it's nice to be able to expand. But truly, I am passionate about education, and so it's very likely that I could spend a great deal of time, but you folks are educators too. You're in the field as our teachers are out here in the audience, so I'm not going to go into a lot of that. I wanted to mention some things. First of all, nice digs. This is really nice compared to where I lived for 16 years with a school board. I just wanted to reflect that it's interesting as you get older. There's some downsides to getting older, but some of the good things are the reflections that you have. And as I think about having sat where you sit tonight and listening to people out here front and talking, and I wonder how it looked from out here. Now I'm here, having been on the city council now for 2 years. You know, I come with that perspective, coming back here to talk to you tonight. A lot of different perspectives, a lot of memories with people and things that we've done over the years here, and things that you are doing, and some of the very difficult choices that you're going to be making in the upcoming year. So I just wanted to share a few things with you. First of all, Julie, thank you for the service that you've done. I don't know if you remember, I think we had the write-in when Bill Sherwood died, and I was the one that convinced you that, yes, you do have the time. You can find the time to make it happen, because Julie was very concerned that she wouldn't be able to give the time to this job that it needs. And I know that it needs a lot, but she took that chance, and she did it, and then ran for office and won. So I'm really glad for what you've done and the legacy that you left and your children. And I'm going to talk about your son here in just a little bit. But with Ralph and I have had a great deal of time together on the board. And as I was talking to Rachel Mullins, the CEO for the Putnam Museum, I said, what do you think? What can I say after all these years? Because I got so many of these memories. What stands out for you? So she gave me an idea. And it had to do with a shirt. So as I was going through shirts, I didn't press these, and they're old. This one's especially old. This one was made before you guys were born. Oh my gosh. Cluel for School Board, September 11th, 2001.
Wow.
That's old.
That's crazy. That's bad.
I looked a little different. You know, I mean, Ken talked about, blonde hair. Mine wasn't blonde, but it sure wasn't what it is now. Snow on the mountain. And I think, Ralph, that was the year that you ran and lost. Am I right? But that says something about Ralph. Ralph did not give up after that election. He ran again and won, and you must have served a decade as president, Ralph. How many years has it been?
I'm not sure.
It's a long time,
Yeah.
long time. But he persevered. We spent a lot of time working the Legislative Advocacy Committee, and I guess if there's one area that I think back to the times that I've had on this board where I've been able to deal with people at the state level and locally, and trying to bring forward the issues that the community had and the students had, to share that with the legislature. Because there's an old statement, political statement, that says that either you're at the table or you're on the menu. Well, these folks up here in front of you are at the table. They are able to make decisions. We sit back here and we can offer things up, but it's up to them to make sure that our legislators know what we need. We took a very bold move some years ago, and we said, look, we're going to violate state law. We're going to conduct an act of civil disobedience because we believe that the students in this district deserve no less than any other child in any other district in the state of Iowa. So we did that, and this shirt came up. Dr. Tate, that night, I remember saying that he was going to do that, and the entire board stood up here in front of this group, and we all signed on that document saying that we support this effort to try to do what's right for our kids. Every school board member stood up there and signed that document. That was an important moment. And of course, Julie's son is in the back, and that's where this started. You may remember this. Folks, this was like the 60s. We were active. We weren't waiting for the world to change. We said, no, this is not right, and the students put this together. Now, we as school board members took some heat because some of them thought that we put our students up to this. We did not, right? Our students did that, and you led that whole effort. I'm really proud of what happened with that. But there again, Ralph was at the table talking to state legislators about what it is that we need here, that we aren't going to wait. And of course, there were spin-offs, little spin-offs on things of shirts that we created. Our students are worth less. Just ask a legislator. Maybe this wasn't the smartest thing in the world to do, to ruffle up the people's feathers who feed you, but we did that, and we did, during that whole time, maintain a good relationship with our legislators, which was very important. These aren't the shirts that Rachel mentioned I should bring up. So one of the things that we did, we had a lot of fun, and we really aren't sadists. We didn't really enjoy Ken falling down on the escalator all that much. It was pretty funny at the time, and pretty funny in retrospect, but he was kind of beat up about that. But we would go to the Iowa Association of School Board meetings, and we did presentations, and the interesting thing is that, like in sports, when it's easy, you've got it made. We were having fun doing what we did. We were doing important things for not only ourselves but the state. Interestingly and somewhat ironically, we have been kind of in the shadows of what's happening now with the legislature in terms of transportation dollars for rural schools. We brought those people on board to try to work with us in terms of our state funding equity issue, thinking that we'd have a bigger choir with the legislature. Well, unfortunately, they kind of got the eye of the legislature more than we did, but we're still fighting that fight. You're still fighting that fight. $5 a year isn't much, but Ralph Johansson at one point said, if we can just get $1 a year, we'll be satisfied. Do something. So that leads me to the last thing here, and Ralph knows where this is going. We did a presentation at the Iowa Association of School Board meetings, and we wanted to do some theater. We really were not happy with letting things remain as they were. So that song was popular at the time.
Waiting on the world.
What was his name? Mayor? Mike? Jim? John Mayer. Waiting on the World to Change, which you guys, it's been a long time ago, you probably don't even know. You know the song? Popular song. And so we said, let's do some theater. So I want to do a little pantomime of how that went. Went kind of like this. So Ken, I, and Ralph are up at the podium. Welcome to the ISB School Board Association meeting. We're really thrilled to be here. Let's look at paragraph 6.1A of the Iowa School Board Code. At that point, we said, wait a minute. Mary, hit the tunes. We played John Mayer, and we did this. We said, look, we're not waiting on the school, on the world to change. We're going to do it now. We can't wait. The only problem when we did this is we hadn't really rehearsed it much. And so Ralph is up there. And for all the world, some people thought we were doing a Chippendales review. But I don't know what effect that had, but it was fun. We have made a difference in the state of Iowa. Things are happening. A lot of those things wouldn't happen with Ralph. Of course, I got to mention, I don't know if Pat Samora is here, but Pat was very important too, because she told us, look, you guys do anything you want to as long as you don't break the law. So she gave us the leeway to do some things, important things. So there was a point in time, from 2001 to 2018, when we did a lot of important things, a lot of things that have done things for you students here and the kids that will follow you. I hope that our new school board members will follow suit and not be afraid to make change. I mean, one of those changes we said is look at the vision statement that we made. Our parents, staff, and students saying, what if? I doubt that there's another vision statement in the state of Iowa that comes up with a question at the end. What if? What can you do? So anyway, that's the challenge to you new school board members. Thank you all for what you have done. Ralph, it's been a pleasure. Julie, thank you for what you've done, and we'll see you on the other side of the block.
Did anyone else want to come up and have a few words? Rachel.
I will not take blame or credit for that, Mr. Cool. Thank you for having me. My name is Rachel Mullins, and I am the president and CEO of the Putnam Museum. I'm a proud previous Grant Slammer from Grant Elementary and product of the Davenport Community Schools, and most recently served as assistant to superintendent here in the district. I've known Julie DeSalvo for over 5 years as a parent, as a passionate advocate for education, and as a leader here in the district, and it's been my privilege to work with you. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. I know your wonderful family is here to support you, and we thank you so much for your service. I was actually contacted about coming tonight because of my unique relationship with our board president, Ralph Johansson. I've known Ralph for 15 years, I suppose, since you started. And during that time, we really came to admire and trust each other to develop really an intense mutual respect. We find each other challenging and inspiring and hilarious and at times really aggravating. So when my father passed away in 2009, and in the subsequent year of going through his things, I found a special book among his thousands. And it was a really reflective time for me, and it touched me. And I knew it wasn't an object that should go to one of his brothers or family member or the many collectors that were interested in all of his first editions and his books. No, 10 years ago, I set this aside for Ralph Johansson. It's called 5 Acres and Independence, A Practical Guide to the Selection and Management of the Small Farm. I knew among Ralph's many endeavors that he lived on and operated a small family farm. And it always kind of reminded me of a quote of my father's. He was an economist at St. Ambrose for 40 years, and he used to always talk about great leaders, saying that a great leader is the definition of a good farmer. He's a man outstanding in his field. And I always felt that way about Ralph because he was so engaged in the work of the school district. So in commemoration tonight, when I was contacted by Mary, I did a little digging on the many ways that your leadership is so reflective of farming. So I found these quotes, actually. This is from the Farm Progress magazine. Leaders model the traits and behaviors they expect from others. They treat everyone with respect, manage conflict, and are good listeners. Leaders share the vision of where the farm is going with everyone on the farm team. Leaders passionately believe in their vision and inspire others to join. They create a vision and chart a clear path on how to achieve it. Leaders challenge the status quo, are not stuck in the past, and are always looking for better ways to do things. They challenge themselves and aren't afraid when others dispute or test their ideas. Leaders don't command and control every last detail. If a farm is going to grow, there isn't enough time in a day to manage everything. Instead, they coach, mentor, and ultimately create self-managing collaborative teams on the farm. Leaders have a heart, and it shows with how they encourage and motivate everyone around them. Leaders are quick to give a compliment and recognize that farming is often hard work. They celebrate successes and the accomplishments of the farm, and most importantly, those who contribute. So I think one of your greatest assets and legacy here in the Davenport Community Schools has been your passion for celebrating the successes of others. I've sat through many school board meetings when people would present and there was a common refrain from our school board president, "Wow." And none of us ever doubted how appreciated we really were. So as one of those who have benefited from your leadership, I've held onto this book for the past decade because I knew how odd it would seem for a staff member to give this to a board president. So when Mary contacted me, I knew this was my opportunity. So I'd like to present this to you tonight, Ralph. I've inscribed it. Treasure this tome, presented on this day, November 25th, 2019, upon the retirement of President Johansson from the Davenport School Board, with all my love and admiration, Rachel Mullen-Steiner. Thank you, Ralph.
Pat Zamora was invited, but I'm not seeing her here. A couple previous school board members here, Jamie Snyder and Larry Robeson. Would either one of you like to say something? Or Nikki?
Good evening. So I go back a lot of years, more than 4 with Ralph. And you know, we always didn't see eye to eye, but at the end of the night, the thing that I like most about it, we could always talk. We could always say what our differences were, but we could always talk. And that's the thing that I'll always remember the most about him. And the other thing is that he'd go around to all of the board members, and then he would say, any more? Any more? And then he'd say, I have a couple. That was his favorite line. I have a couple. He always had a couple after everybody else spoke. But it won't be the same not seeing you sit in that chair. It won't be the same not seeing you talk about our kids. My kids went through Davenport schools, and I understand what it's like to sit there. And I told Ralph, don't cry like I did. Because after 11 years when I left, Ralph asked me to read something, and I couldn't read it because I was all choked up. But I really enjoyed my time, and God bless you. And I hope things work out really well for you. Thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Well, I wasn't even sure if I was going to make it. I had to fracture a few speed laws from Indianapolis to here, so I'm surprised there wasn't a trail of lights coming in here behind me. But I couldn't not be here just to let Ralph and Julie in fact, the entire board, but specifically Ralph and Julie tonight, know how much I admire them and how much the time I spent with them meant to me. I've been extremely busy with some work changes over the last few years that I've been following you guys. And, you know, one of the things I remember from being on the board is how many people thought we did it for the huge paychecks and the awesome dental plan. Yeah, the paychecks were nice to help us all cover our jets and our yachts and our summer homes, but you guys spend all this time, the board members, all of you, because you love the kids of Davenport, and that's what's important to you. And the amount of hours that you guys put in is completely admirable. And I just wanted to be here to let you guys know how much you guys mean to me and how proud I was to spend so much time with you guys. And this board's not going to be the same without you. So there's some big shoes to fill, and good luck to you both. And there's absolutely nothing on TV on Monday nights, so I don't know what you're going to do.
Monday Night Football.
So good luck, guys.
Anyone else? Vera Kelly was also invited to be here, but these student board members, anyone have anything?
I would like to say
Go
something.
ahead, Adam.
Turn this on. So for those who don't know me, I'm Adam Parcel. I'm the student representative from West, and I would just like to thank you guys for your tremendous service on the board. As any public official knows, it's not an easy job because you have to deal with the flack from your constituents, especially some parents and teachers that necessarily don't agree with you. But I think the job of any public official is to serve their community and to help improve. And I think you guys hit it on the nail right there with your service to the Davenport Community Schools. As a person who's spent my whole life in Davenport and spent his last 12, 13 years of education in the school district, I've seen a lot of improvements, and it's thanks to your hard work. And I wouldn't necessarily call it a retirement, but enjoy your time off from the board, and thank you again for your service.
Vera Kelly was invited to speak, but she's not able to be here tonight. She's out of town. And I'm going to kind of echo Rachel here a second as well. Vera writes to say, what can I say about my friend Ralph, but wow. We have agreed to disagree on many occasions. However, we have never had a real falling out. And if you know Vera's accent, you know how that went. Ralph and I never fell out. We didn't fall out about anything. The one thing I can say is on May 5th, 2015, I received an award from the Hilltop Association that was presented in Des Moines, Iowa. The first face that I saw when I walked up the steps at the Wells Fargo Arena was none other than that of Ralph Johansson. After the presentation, he sat at the table and ate with my family and I. Wherever your journey takes you, you have my blessings. I could say more, but you know they always think I talk too much. Nothing is going to happen that you and God can't handle as long as you put God first. Then she says, men of quality are not threatened by women of equality. Blessings to you, Mr. Ralph Johansson.
We're ready?
That's it. Mhm.
All right. Well, thank you very much to all of you. That was something I've never been through, and I suspect Julie's been through stuff like that frequently, meaning the great and grand appreciation for her efforts. So, thanks again. We'll move on with the rest of our meeting. Are there any student board reports?
So West has finished up their food drive. The last couple of weeks we had a Veterans Day off, which was really spectacular that I was able to attend last Friday. And then also we had some middle schoolers come in last week to tour the school. We're gearing up for basketball season at West coming this week.
Central is starting our holiday dinner box for the students who are unfortunate enough to have holiday dinners. And another thing's happening. Our first bowling meet is happening December 2nd against Bettendorf.
Our esports Overwatch team at Central got first in their tournament in the state, somewhere. It was good. And McKinley Mentors is a big tag program at Central, and all our new mentors are now visiting with their kids. And it's super awesome to see. I actually go on Monday mornings, and they're like the tables are filled. So it's really awesome to see high schoolers hanging out with elementary students and just see that connection in our school district.
All right, thank you very much. Move on to board reports. Are there any? Director Hayes.
I attended the 100 Black Men meeting at Wood. I also went to IASB convention meeting last week, and I was totally impressed with the morning speaker, who was Sir Ken Robinson. He presented 5 crucial points that were pretty much in line with our board vision and priorities. He talked about the aims of education, economics, culture, social, and personal. I did purchase one of the books that he had written. I want to say there was about 5 or 6 of them there on the table. And the one that I selected was Creative Schools, and prayerfully there's something in there that may provide assistance to our district. And I'm happy to say that I completed Finance 301. So Claudia, I'm feeling like I can kind of get a grip on some of this stuff now that we talk about. And that would be it.
Thank you. Any additional board reports? Director Gosa.
I also attended the IASB convention as well as the state board meeting. It seemed like everything kind of went pretty well. And I also sat in on the UEN steering committee for Director Beck because she wasn't able to be there. Which I think they're going to put that stuff together in January and then get it back out. So then we'll have something to report back on that. Otherwise, that's about it for me.
Director Beck.
I just wanted to extend my thanks to Director Gosa for sitting in for me on the UEN steering committee with zero preparation, which is how much preparation I had, just so you know. But I appreciate it since I wasn't able to make it to the IASB meeting. And then I also wanted to mention that I've been hearing a lot from my son, who's a student, a 5th grade student at McKinley, about a relationship they have with students at Central, where they write about books that they're reading together. And they finally got to meet, I believe, last week, and he seems really excited about it. He really thought it was a neat thing to meet high school students. And so I'd like to see and hear about more of those types of programs happening at all of our high schools, because it seems like they're really rewarding for both sides of the party, so, or both sides of the relationship, but great things happening, so.
Anybody else? I want to comment on the meetings in Des Moines. I'm going to make some comments later on this evening, but Sir Ken Robinson's presentations were, I think, really on point. And he said some things that we won't even be able to discuss tonight, but at some point, I hope the board is able to think about these things, because it really looks to a little bit more of what maybe should education look like in the future. Maybe education as we know it, as it's been developed over the past 100 years or so, maybe it should change. And there are changes that are taking place in our district and in our country right now, but he was really funny, and he was really inspirational as well. Another thing I wanted to comment on was I want to talk about the IASB Delegate Convention and the UEN. So we're members of both of those organizations, and the UEN meeting actually had some really strategic, important issues. And sometimes a lot of this seems droll, and who cares about some of that? But it really is getting into some strategic things that will affect the organization probably for years. And then the ISB delegate assembly, Director Potts attended that, and I think that was like a 4-hour session where he's representing what we believe in terms of all these resolutions that really affect the way that the state organization presents things, and it's a compilation of all of the districts in the state, which I believe right now the count is 327 school districts in the state. Anyway, I wanted to thank everybody that participated and took time to do all those things, so thank you very much. Why don't we move on to Director DeSalvo? Would you please read our upcoming events?
I'd be happy to. November 28th, Thursday, is the holiday, and buildings will be closed. November 29th, Friday, is also a holiday, and buildings will be closed as well as the schools. December 2nd, Monday at 5:30 p.m., there's a meeting here in the Achievement Service Center, Jim Hester Boardroom. December 4th, Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. is a policy meeting in the ASC Executive Boardroom. December 9th is a Monday. There will be a reception at 5 p.m. for the new board members, Karen Klein Jerome and Kent Poshton. The public is invited. And at 6 p.m. then the regular meeting here in the ASC Jim Hester Boardroom. There will only be one regular meeting in December due to the holidays.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to open forum. And we only have one open forum request tonight from Abigail Tolkien. Open forum is a time for members of the community to give input at a board meeting regarding school district issues or concerns. And individuals who want to speak should fill out an open forum request and give it to the board secretary prior to open forum. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it was not published as an agenda item. The Iowa Open Meetings Law prohibits action on any issue that is not on the agenda. And since we only have one request, Abigail, and she signs it Abby, why don't you come on up, give us your name and address at the microphone, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, my name is Abigail Tolkien. I live at 301 Dolan Drive in Bluegrass, and I'm currently a sophomore at West High School. Today I'm here concerning block class scheduling, which I know that you've probably heard a lot about, but I believe it's something very important to the high schools. I did send emails to both the superintendent and the board president to see if I could have a little bit more time to talk, because I do believe this is very important. But unfortunately, I did not get any reply. I've heard in the past said that you were elected, all of you, to make the hard decisions. And I absolutely believe that is true, and you all have been elected for very valid reasons. But I don't think that you've made the hard decisions. I believe that the easy decision was to go with what saves money, and the hard decision would be to do what's best for the students and teachers and may not be the best financially. I think that block classes are very beneficial. They save lots of hall time, preparation time, and time at the end of class, and especially in classes like physical education, music, art, science, and many other engineering type classes. I did start a petition. It hasn't gotten much publicity, but I did a few weeks ago, And I'm very happy with how far that's gotten. It's gotten 261 signatures to keep block classes in the last few weeks. But I really wanted to show how passionate I am about this and the schools, and I know that a lot of teachers and students around the school are very stressed and somewhat dreading the switch back to traditional scheduling, and I think there are many reasons why the block scheduling is much more beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. It really is important for all of our community members to speak on things that are important, district issues like this, and this is a big issue. It's very important, and it takes quite a bit to come up and speak at the microphone in front of a board like this. So thank you again, Abby. We'll move on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes?
I move the board accept the consent agenda as written.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Gosa?
Yes.
Director Mayfield?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director DeSalvo?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding approval of bills?
Mr. President,
Director DeSalvo?
I move, if I can move my computer, that the board accept the following resolution as recommended by the administration for adoption of the bills from the bill listing periods of November 7th, 2019 through November 20th, 2019. Resolved, all claims presented to the board having been duly certified as correct by the secretary, reviewed by the administration and board members, and they are hereby audited and allowed as just claims and warrants drawn on the treasury for the several amounts. Further resolved, the payment of claims and salaries be approved as presented for the periods of November 7th, 2019 through November 20th, 2019.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Director DeSalvo?
Yes.
Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Mayfield?
Yes.
Director Gosa?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Thank you. Motion passes. Superintendent report?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to join the litany of admirers in the audience and offer my congratulations as well as a deep appreciation to President Johansson and Director DeSalvo for their leadership. Years ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I was once a board member also, and one of the things I learned early on is the amount of time that it really consumes and takes away from your family. And I know your families are both very excited to have you back, not only on Monday nights, but for all the other events that take place. Ralph, in particular, I would like to say thank you for accelerating my learning curve here as the new superintendent. I've been a superintendent, this is my fourth superintendency, and I've been with you for 4 months, and I've had more contact with you over the last 4 months than I have with all of my board presidents over the last 14 years. So I want to thank you for that.
Wow.
I also would like to thank you for validating attention to detail. That's something that sometimes we lose sight of when we get to this level of conversations. And I will always think of you when I ask questions about, the horsepower of the tractors that we're buying and things like that. And that attention to detail is one of the keys to your success, and I mean that with all sincerity. Julie, I would like to thank you also in particular. The superintendent search process, having viewed it from my side of the table, I was just simply amazed with all the work and energy and attention that you put into that. I know that was your baby, so to speak, and you handled it with class and with poise all along the way, with all the ups and all the downs. And I just wanted to say thank you for helping lead through that process, and wish you both the best in your next endeavors. So, and if you need anything, please don't hesitate to look me up, because I owe you both a favor on that one. So congratulations to both of you. Moving on with just a few other items for my report. One of the things I would like to emphasize to the community and celebrate with the community is for those of you that are fond of social media, I would ask you to please sign on and take a look at our Facebook page as a school district. I know from my position as a superintendent, I'm approving 2 to 3 good news stories every single day that land on our Facebook page. And a lot of the work goes to obviously the individuals that are doing this work in the schools, but the folks at TAG have been eminently helpful in pulling all this together and really changing the narrative in our community to one that we're celebrating all the success and all the wonderful things that are happening here. And it's truly amazing. All of our schools are doing very interesting things, and we're getting that information out to the community. And even the news media is noticing. They're watching our Facebook page posts to get a sense of all the good things that are happening. So if you want to get a really good feel for all the awesome wow things that are happening in the district, I would encourage you to take a look at Facebook as well as our other social media platforms. We're very excited about all the good things that are happening. A couple other quick announcements. One, as I'm watching the weather with the oncoming snow that we're expecting over the next few days, I would encourage all families to take a look at our website and review the emergency closing information. I'm entirely hopeful now that Mr. Schneckloth is not the interim superintendent that we'll have fewer snow days this year than we had last year. I don't know what got into him last year, but it's not the route we want to go with that. But we will always push our information out as quickly as we possibly can, with safety being first and foremost in our mind when we make our decisions about snow days. But I would ask that all parents, families, and students please refer our emergency closing procedures. I would like to also mention for all of our stakeholders that we have an absolutely wonderful event coming up on December 10th, and I'm going to read directly from our website. There will be a presentation called Answering Why, Unleashing Passion, Purpose, and Performance in Younger Generations. Join best-selling author, Forbes writer, and generational expert Mark Perna on Tuesday, December 10th from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the Mississippi Valley Fairgrounds. Experience the opportunities that exist within the Davenport schools and the community. In this session, Mark will unveil the groundbreaking innovations and strategies for working with today's younger generations. You don't want to miss this. Mark's message will help you motivate young people, show them why education matters, and empower them to achieve at a higher level. Admission is free. I had an opportunity to meet Mr. Perna at a CTE event a few weeks back. He is a very entertaining individual, but also very knowledgeable about generational differences and how education has to look a little bit different based on the clients that we now serve in this day and age. And I think it'll be very eye-opening, especially for the adults, for the young students that would like to go, probably validation in terms of what you would hope to see in your educational processes. So I think it's a very worthwhile event. And then now I would just like to end with again, it's the week of Thanksgiving, and we have much to be thankful for in this school district on a whole host of contexts. And I would like to thank the community for embracing my superintendency and welcoming my family to the community. I would like to say thank you to the school board for the opportunity of leadership in this district. It is quite the honor. There isn't another district in the state or in the Midwest that I think holds a candle to what we're trying to accomplish and what we're doing, and it's a great honor to be here. So to all the families, especially my staff, who are absolutely wonderful and give day in and day out to every single child in every classroom every day, I just would like to say happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to other items requiring action. We only have one action item tonight. May I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Director DeSalvo.
I move that the board approve the following recommendations from Dr. Tom Lane, board and superintendent mentor for the Department of Education. Number 1, hire Gary Sinclair and implement Forecast 5. Number 2, suspend COW meetings, committee of the whole meetings, beginning November 25th, and begin board learning sessions with IASB, the Iowa Association of School Boards. Number 3, regular presentations to the board on achievement, well-being, and behavior. Number 4, reorganize the Human Resource Department to include system structure, record keeping, recruitment, staff onboarding and retention. Number 5, reestablish SIAC, I don't know what that is, and School Improvement, it should be Local School Improvement, LCAC, Local School Improvement Advisory Committee or Council, and commit to regular schedule and procedures that adhere to Iowa Code 280.122. Number 6, fully utilize TAG communications to inform parents, staff, and the greater Davenport community of district initiatives, challenges, and successes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any-
Second. Second.
Yep. Is there any discussion? Director Beck.
I would like to move that we separate out these items and vote individually.
Okay, so I think the proper way then would be,
Make
you
an
want to
amendment.
amend it.
I want to amend the motion
Okay.
so that we vote on each item.
All right. So
Separately.
the recommended amendment is to separate out items 1 through 6, and we would vote on each one individually. Is there a second?
Second.
to the amendment? Thank you. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Director Potts.
I would just ask why.
A couple of these are pretty straightforward, but I have a lot of questions about a couple of the recommendations before I am comfortable adopting them.
All right. Any other discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Director Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Gosa.
Yes.
Director DeSalvo.
Yes.
Director Mayfield.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. So the amended motion, and I think we'll just word it appropriately as we move forward, and we'll do it in the same order in which they're presented. So we'll start with the first recommendation, and we will vote on each recommendation individually. That was the intent of the amendment, right? Let me think about how to
Director
do.
Gosa has a question.
What's that? Oh, Director Gosa.
Do we even need to vote on the first one? We've already done that.
Well, but since it's part of the recommendation, we should just discuss it, and
Okay.
it'll be noted that we've already passed it. I think the proper way to do it then would be, if you don't mind, Director Beck, is just to make a motion for each one of these. As we move forward, we'll ask for a motion, a second, and then discussion. So if you want to move, go ahead.
I move that the board adopt Dr. Lane's first recommendation to hire Gary Sinclair and implement Forecast 5.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
And it'll take me a little bit longer to try to keep this all straight. Okay, I'll call. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just
Correct.
to note that we have already actually implemented this.
Right.
recommendation.
And that's exactly right. That was already approved, correct?
Correct. Last meeting.
Okay, so it would be inappropriate for us to vote on it again. We'll just note in the minutes that it was previously approved. Okay? All right, go ahead and continue.
Okay. I move that the board adopt the recommendation from Dr. Lane to suspend CAL meetings beginning November 25th and begin board learning sessions with IASB.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Director Gosa.
How long would we be suspending CAL meetings for? Because I actually think those are very beneficial meetings where we get the most information and we can kind of have a dialogue back and forth.
Yeah, Dr. Lane, would you want to come up and explain that a little bit?
I don't have any particular suggestion to how long you do that. Three of you were at the state board meeting here this last week. We've heard it at other times, especially with bringing on 2 new board members. They thought it very, very important that we get those folks up to speed as quickly as possible. And so my recommendation simply here 3 or 4 weeks ago to you was that you do invest in yourselves. You've got 2 new members, you'll have a new leadership team, and that you get started building a knowledge base for the entire board, but in particular for your new board members. So again, I'm not saying 3 months, I'm not saying 6, I'm not saying any particular amount. I think that would be determined more in how valuable you think these sessions are, and what Harry Hillenthal would be likely one of the ones who would facilitate this for you. So I would leave it up to you and to your facilitator.
So like I was saying, I think cows are probably the most beneficial meetings we have. These other ones, we just vote on stuff. Basically, what you're describing is like a board workshop.
Yes.
And then my other question, is it an open meeting?
They are open meetings. Yes, they are.
Okay. So it'll just be like a round table, or we'll be sitting here?
That would be up to you for the format, but they are open meetings by law.
Because the way that this is worded is very vague and blanket, so it could be interpreted any way. So that's kind of why I was asking these questions.
And they're good questions. And one of the things you may want to consider, there's nothing says that at one of these meetings, they are open meetings, you can publish your agenda. You could discuss things at this in the context perhaps of having a facilitator help you through the process.
Okay.
So I think you could
okay.
dovetail the two together.
Right, because again, you're going to have 2 new board members, and they might be a little more nervous to ask questions with people around.
I understand.
So, I mean, honestly, you have a better meeting when it's a closed meeting. You can really hash some stuff out, but then you'll ask some questions that they may or may not, want to in public. Who determines how this is set up? Whoever comes in from the IASB, they set it up, or the administration?
And they would work with you. They aren't going to shove anything down your throat. They'll work with you to talk about how long you want these to last, what your expectations are.
So they'll work with the board, not
absolutely,
not the superintendent. They're not setting it up. It's between the board.
This is IASB.
Okay.
Your organization. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Director Beck?
No, Director Gosa actually asked most of the questions that I had. I guess I'm just wondering if it would be appropriate for us to say, a period of time, or if we want to just leave it open-ended and vote on it as written. I'm not sure what the best course of action is.
That'll depend on what the board wants to do. Director Hayes?
I know in the previous meeting, we had said 3 to 6 months. Would that be appropriate to even include that?
Oh, I don't know that it's appropriate or inappropriate. I just think you're going to want to do this at least 3 times. Again, my experience, the last time I worked with a district like this was 3 years ago, and we ended up meeting 3 times, and that served us very, very well.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I was going to say, I think with that guidance, we can leave it as is, and with understanding it's probably going to be 3 to 6 months.
I have a comment. The use of the word suspend in the way that the motion is worded suggests to me that we would not have a committee of the whole meeting. And I was trying to figure out a different word in case, because there may be a really strong issue that should come up and that should be discussed at a committee of the whole in addition to the workshop.
Could we say supplement committee of the whole meetings with this?
I think that addresses my concern, but as a friendly amendment, if you would accept that as a friendly amendment to the motion to change the word from suspend to supplement.
Yes.
And if the seconder, which is Director Hayes, would accept that as a friendly amendment to the motion, then we can do it without voting on that. Okay, so we'll just change the word to supplement? Okay. Any other discussion on this item, Director Gosa?
Does this come included with our membership to IASB, or is this going to be like an additional cost?
I believe this comes with your membership, and I can check for you if you like, or certainly Mary could as well, but I think this comes as a service to the district.
Yeah, if you could find that out, Mary, that'd be great. Just to see if it's something we have to
Sure.
account for monies. Thank you.
Anything else? All right, we'll call for the vote. Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director DeSalvo.
Yes.
Director Mayfield.
Yes.
Director Gosa.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding number 3?
I move that the board approve the recommendation from Dr. Lane that we have regular presentations to the board on achievement, well-being, and behavior.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Director Beck.
I just want to say it's my understanding that this would be very similar to the showcases we had when I first joined the board, where typically students and teachers would come and present on a program that's happening at their school, or sometimes it would just be teachers and the principal. That's kind of what I'm picturing in my head, and I guess I just want to confirm that that's what we're talking about.
Excellent question. I think that could be part of the format, but the other piece is there's a whole host of data that we are collecting as a district on student achievement, data that will be in our report cards that need explanation, as well as other metrics that we think are important for you to know about moving forward so that we can measure and be accountable for all the expectations we have in our vision.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Gosa.
Yes.
Director DeSalvo.
Yes.
Director Mayfield.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding number 4?
I move that the board approve the recommendation from Dr. Lane to reorganize the HR department to include system structure, record keeping, recruitment, staff onboarding, and retention.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second. Second.
Is there any discussion? Director Beck.
I think Director Gosa has the same question probably. Dr. Lane, could you talk to us a little bit about what you had in mind when you wrote this and what benefit we're going to get out of this as a district?
Yes, thank you. Hiring is difficult, and it's not going to get easier. You're going to have more and more difficult times filling positions, and I'm not just talking hard to fill traditional positions, foreign language, science. It's going to get more and more difficult to attract teachers. The candidate pool out there is getting smaller, and whether you're hiring administrators, teachers, coaches, whatever positions, it will get more and more difficult. In my 4 months here, I've had many conversations with staff in the HR office, as well as your building principals and people who are charged with putting good staff in front of your children. There needs to be a better form of communication between those two groups. I don't think anybody has bad intentions. I'm not inferring that, but I don't think there's a good, deep understanding collectively of what a hiring process should look like. I'm not sure that the process looks the same from one building to another, let alone HR being very comfortable with what's going on. Both sides will tell stories that are frustrating to them with regards to candidates not having certain pieces completed before a contract is offered. And so I just think that you need to maybe realign some duties in the department. And this is not going to come as a surprise to anybody in HR. We've had good conversations about how we think they can streamline things and do things a little bit better. And again, I don't have any prescribed ideas about how you necessarily need to do things. You need to have a department that coordinates all the hiring in the district and oversees it for your buildings.
Okay, thank you.
Director Gosa.
So myself personally, before I vote on this, I would like to see a written strategic plan on what you're hoping to gain out of doing what you're going to do and how you're going to get there. Because we had a lot of citations that involved the HR department. I don't see anything about staffing in here, but I think that stuff needs to be looked at as well. I think it needs to be restructured. I'm not gonna vote on this one because it's too vague for me. I want to see that we are actually looking into something. We have a written strategic plan. This is our intent. This is what we're trying to do. This is how we're gonna get there. Because if you don't have something to look at, then it could just fall by the wayside.
Yeah, that would be, I'm very hopeful it wouldn't fall by the wayside, but I understand your concern. That's probably how we got involved. I invited a friend of mine, Diana Whited, who's a former HR director herself, to come in here and work with your staff. We did have some citations in your document. We have resolved those. When the DE is here next to go through things, we have assured them they will find things in good order. We've tried to make sure there's an understanding this isn't a one-shot deal where you're going to look at it and fall back in your old ways, that protocols and procedures are put in place. So we can continue to work on that. It's not a document we can have done in a week, for example, but if you would like something more precise, we can do that for you. But that's the intent, is that we need to streamline your department with regards to advertising, with regards to recruitment, onboarding of staff, retention of staff. Those are all things that we have to improve here.
Okay. No, I completely agree with that. It's just we had 8 years of one mindset one way, and now we got something new, and you might have roadblocks when because everybody's used to doing it one
Sure.
way, and now that's why I say it's nice to look back at a strategic plan. I use them all over the Midwest. That's how we know what we're going to do, how we're going to get there and achieve our goals. Because you have to have achievable goals. Otherwise, it feels like you're not getting anywhere and you're beating your head against the wall.
Exactly.
But if you have something actually written down that you can go back and look to and revert back to, okay, this is, where we wanted to be and how we need to get there.
And if that's what we need to have for you before you vote, that'll take months to get there. And I don't mean many, many months,
Right.
but that's something that would be done down the road yet, because we're just starting to have those conversations
Right.
with Dr. Kabilski. We're having the conversations internally with the HR department, and certainly we need to bring those on board that are in the field doing the interviewing and the hiring.
Right. And I agree. And he's only been on the job for 4 months, and he's having to corral everybody to the new way. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Everybody, you get complacent as you're just used to the status quo. And I think that's what we felt.
And again, what we're really asking you, or what we're recommending tonight, is that you authorize the work. For us to get started on this, put something together, obviously before it was implemented, we would come back to you and say, here's the plan.
Okay.
So what we're looking for is an authorization to start the work.
Okay. And it's not mentioned in here, but is staffing going to be looked at as well?
Oh, everything will be on the table, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Anything else? Director Beck?
Perhaps I should propose a friendly amendment to reword it to, or if Director Gosa has a suggestion on how to reword it, so we're not voting on reorganizing, we're voting on creating a plan to reorganize. Would that be a better way of wording it, Director Gosa?
I'd be good with that.
Okay, that's my friendly amendment.
That's a friendly amendment. Director Hayes, do you accept that?
I accept.
Okay, so the motion has been amended, and would you restate that?
The motion is to create a plan to reorganize the HR department.
Okay. ... Everybody understand the intent there? All right, we'll go ahead and vote on the modified motion, which is to create a plan. Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director DeSalvo,
Yes.
Director Mayfield,
Yes.
Director Gosa,
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Is there a motion on number 5?
Mr. President, I recommend that the board approve the recommendation from Dr. Lane to reestablish the local school improvement advisory council and commit to regular schedule and procedures that adhere to Iowa Code 280.122.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Director DeSalvo.
I would just add that they already have had a meeting. I think this is another item that has already been accomplished and started. John
has.
Border is leading that.
Huh?
And John Border and Jabari have already started that. They already had a meeting last week, I think it was. Yeah. So
So-
this is done or in motion. has been picked up and has been restarted. Yeah, it's been reestablished.
So if it's already,
But we never voted on it, I don't think.
no,
Why
but
not?
it's required by law. It's not,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, we can vote on it.
huh?
So, go ahead.
Well, no, it's required by law. It's something that can just be done, or the vote here would just, it wouldn't authorize it. It would kind of support it.
Reaffirm it.
So it's, I don't know if there's any, if you have any thoughts as the maker of the motion, Director Beck.
Well, if it's already in the works and it's not something that we would typically vote on, would we do the same thing we did with item number 1 and note that it's already been accomplished and then we don't actually vote? I don't know if that's the appropriate
We have to vote
procedure or
on it.
not.
This committee has gone for some time. I've participated in it for years.
Right.
So have we voted every year to approve?
No.
the vote? No, that's why. I
No,
didn't see.
there is a vote later on required for the committee members,
Right.
but not for the, not
The
for the
meetings to
establishment of the
reestablish,
LZAC
exactly.
itself.
I think we should just note then that it's
Okay,
in the works.
so it's been noted and that'll be in the minutes and it will not be voted on then. May I have a motion regarding number 6?
I move that the board approve the recommendation from Dr. Lane to fully utilize TAG communications to inform parents, staff, and the greater Davenport community of district initiatives, challenges, and successes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Director Beck.
I know, I have noticed the increased activity on the Facebook page, by the way. Very pleasant. I just am curious as to if this is different from what we're currently doing or if we are fully utilizing TAG already.
We're getting there. So, for example, we've just convened our website development team to completely revamp and have a user-friendly and functional website that really helps tell our story. One of the goals that we have in our work with TAG is to tell our story and not have our story told for us. That's kind of the theme that we've been operating under. This past Friday, the entire administrative team, we spent 3 hours at the TAG offices having what's called a brand summit. And we did a SWOT analysis of the strengths and weakness, opportunities and threats of the district so that we can communicate with our stakeholders in ways that allow us to tell our full story and really start changing the culture and climate of the conversations that are taking place. So we're starting to ramp up. You're seeing that in social media. Hopefully, just a couple months down the road, you'll see a brand new website. But we also have other things, other communication devices in the works that we believe will accentuate that communication between our constituents and ourselves. So we've initiated, we've started, but there's certainly more work to be done. And they've been on the job for a month, less than I have. So, but we're getting there. We're making progress.
Okay.
Director Gosa.
So, is this gonna cost more money than what we've already voted on? It's just the same.
You're just validating your commitment to better communication with our
Okay,
constituents.
so no extra monies.
We have a signed contract. We're good to go.
Perfect, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Director Beck.
Yes.
Director DeSalvo.
Yes.
Director Mayfield.
Yes.
Director Gosa.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to the discussion item, Phase 2 update.
So, Mr. President, if I may, we had our monthly opportunity to speak with the Iowa State Board of Education, where they were informed that we're currently on track and on schedule for all the citations that we have in place. I would like to thank the board members for actually being there. That was something that I think was helpful to the cause, and I know that the Board of Education appreciated your actual presence there that day. As Director Gosa said, the meeting actually went well. They had a few questions, all of which we answered. The one change to the citations, which would be citation number 16, which was relative to student behaviors and social emotional well-being of our students. while we're continuing with our PBIS program, and as you may recall, we had a committee of the whole meeting that was dedicated to PBIS and the long-term relationship building and learning that is going to take place when it comes to skill development in our students. That is going to be complemented by a plan that will help us address what the state or what people would feel as the general issue of youth violence, and not only in schools but in the community. And part of what they've asked us to do is to work internally, work with the Department of Education, but also to work with our community to come up with a plan not too dissimilar to plans that you'll see in many urban areas. I know Des Moines is working on the same issues right now and doing everything that we can to have a safe environment, not only for our students, but for our staff. And to develop a local community plan. Not every plan in every community is going to look exactly the same, but we've agreed to embrace the charge and the challenge of putting together a youth violence prevention program here in Davenport that we believe will not only help the school system, but will also help the community. And that'll be part of, it's not an additional citation, it's just an adaptation of the behavioral citation that was already on the Phase 2 report.
Are there any questions for the superintendent on this, or is there any discussion? Director Beck.
I guess I just have one question. So you said it's not an additional citation, it's a tweak to a citation we have, like a
The
way
language
to...
they used, it was not an additional citation, it was an adaptation of a citation that we already have.
Okay.
So their feeling was that, yes, PBIS is a long-term piece, and obviously relationship building is a long-term process. There was also an interest in doing some more immediate work
Okay.
that would have an immediate impact.
So would
In
this fit
addition
in
to-
with the summit that you mentioned at the press release? That's the same type of thing, or press conference, excuse me, that you had?
Sure. So the summit is really a process. It's not an individual event. We've had 2 internal summits here already within the district. We also had a summit with the Department of Education where they brought a team of 10 down from Des Moines, and we talked through the rudimentary framework of a youth violence prevention program and what that could potentially look like for Davenport. However, giving us the ability to nuance that based on our local conversations that we're going to have with our stakeholders. It's an important topic, not just here in Davenport, but obviously you're seeing that it's an important topic nationwide. There's a great deal of research and support materials from the CDC. They've been doing quite a bit of work on youth violence over the years, and there's resource materials that we are certainly going to use moving forward with that. In addition, we're taking a look at some of our protocols from a safety and security standpoint and making sure that our assets that we currently have in place, whether those be security guards or other facets of our security operations, are positioned in ways that will enhance our safety. So we've talked about that for a little bit. And then also we're looking at a school district to implement and purchase the opportunity to have an app on our phone that will allow anonymous reporting of events. One of the things that we are finding as a school system is some of the issues that are migrating into the schools during the school day typically start on social media, either the night before or the weekend before, and then all of a sudden it falls into our lap the very next day at school. If we can get ahead of the communication curve and know what's coming as opposed to reacting to it. So that's more the tactical now. What are those things that we're doing from a preventative standpoint, trying to be proactive as opposed to reactive.
Anything else? All right, thank you very much. We'll move on. Are there any board requests? Are there any administrative reports?
Not tonight.
All right, so just so everybody's aware, we have 3 meetings tonight. I expected this meeting to last for about half an hour.
Yeah, I know.
I did. Sorry. I'm going to adjourn this meeting in just a minute, and then we're going to go directly into another meeting. It's called the annual meeting. It's just a meeting of perfunctory things that we've got to do. I hope that that one will not last long. Then we will go to the organizational meeting, where the departing board members will leave the board, and we will bring the new board members into the board, and then there will be an election of officers. So, may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. I now call the meeting of the Davenport Community School District Board of Directors to order for the annual meeting. We'll start with the annual settlement report, and our board secretary, Mary Crothers, will present that.
Okay, in accordance with Board Policy 30402, Treasurer's Annual Report, a yearly count needs to be presented to the board confirming the amounts in the general fund for the school district. So, I've got it right up here for everyone to see. What I'm gonna do is just, the first 4 banks, everyone can see they have zero in both cash savings and checking investments. And those banks are Blackhawk Bank and Trust, Bluegrass Savings Bank, Southeast National Bank, and Northwest Bank and Trust. In the Quad City Bank and Trust, in cash savings and checking, $46,900,927.39. Investments, $5,226,298.97, for a total of $52,127,226.36. Then Walcott Trust and Trust and Savings Bank, Triumph Community Bank, First Midwest Savings all have zero amounts across. Wells Fargo cash savings checking, $12,862.43. Zero in investments for that same total. U.S. Bank, zero in cash. Investments, $4,531.62, same in total. Then Miles Capital Education, this is formerly the TELF account. Claudia, do you know what that stands for?
The Education Liquidity Fund.
Okay, thank you. Zero in cash savings or checking. Investments, $44,013,081.75, same in the total. And then the ISJIT Iowa Schools Joint Investment Trust, zero in cash savings and checking, $10,557,847.08 in investments and the total. So the total amount for all banks for cash savings or checking, $46,913,789.82. Investments, $59,801,759.42. And total, $106,715,549.24. Any questions?
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
May I have a motion regarding annual resolution for payment of bills?
Mr. President,
Director DeSalvo.
I move that the board accept the annual resolution for payment of bills. The administration recommends the board approve the following annual resolution for the payment of bills. Be it resolved that in between regularly scheduled board meetings, that after the bills have been reviewed by the board and verified by the administration, board secretary, and the superintendent, the board president may be authorized to approve payment of claims and warrants drawn on the treasury for the several amounts, including payment of claims and salaries. Be it further resolved, the board will officially approve these warrants at the next regular board meeting, and the warrants will be entered into the minutes of record.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Director DeSalvo?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Mayfield?
Yes.
Director Gosa?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Next is the designation of financial institutions. May I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Director DeSalvo.
I move that the board accept administration's recommendation to adopt the following resolution. Resolved by the Board of Directors of the Davenport Community School District in the counties of Scott and Muscatine, State of Iowa, that the following named financial institutions are hereby designated as depositories of funds for said school district in amounts not to exceed the amounts hereinafter set forth. And the school district's treasurer is hereby authorized to deposit the Davenport Community School District funds in the amount not to exceed named for said financial institutions as presented. The Code of Iowa, do I have to read that part? Do I read that?
No, that's just an explanation. Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Director Gosa.
I think I ask this every time. How do we determine which gets what amount? Because I mean, some of them only have like a way smaller amount than the others.
Claudia, would you want to try to answer that?
The larger amounts are banks that we either currently use for our main operating account or have in the recent past. The smaller amounts are usually set by those banks. They won't accept a higher limit. They're not equipped to do that. So we usually run that past the institution before we put it on the list to make sure it's an amount that they could potentially handle for us.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Director DeSalvo?
Yes.
Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Mayfield?
Yes.
Director Gosa?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the appointment of the 504/ADA coordinator?
Mr. President,
Director DeSalvo?
I move that the board accept administration's recommendation to approve the appointment of TJ Sneckloff to serve as the Section 504 ADA coordinator for the 2019-2020 school year.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Director DeSalvo?
Yes.
Director Gosa?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Mayfield?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding approval of legal counsel?
Mr. President,
Director DeSalvo?
I move that the board accept administration's recommendation to approve using the legal services of Lane and Waterman LLP to represent the corporation and advise the board until the board's annual meeting in 2020.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Director DeSalvo?
Yes.
Director Gosa?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Mayfield?
Yes. Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn the annual meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. I now will call the Davenport Community School District Board of Directors to order for an organizational meeting. First, we'll have the report of the canvass of votes. Mary, would you do that, please? Thank you guys for sticking around. We'll see you.
I must have, I think I gave you my sheet. Okay, I'm just going to read the names of the candidates and the number of votes they received. Karen Klein Jerome, 4,862 votes in Scott County, 2 votes in Muscatine. This will be the first year that you'll hear Muscatine votes because the new election with the city and the school being combined. There's a small part of Davenport that lies in Muscatine County, so with the school and city elections combined, you have to vote in the county that you live. So Muscatine now takes care of those voters, and then they send the results to Scott County to be included in the county, control county canvas. So I just wanted to explain that in case anyone was interested. Ken Postion, 4,491 votes. Muscatine, 11 votes. Linda Hayes, 3,421 votes, 2 in Muscatine. Dan Gosa, 3,420 votes, 1 in Muscatine. Jenner Keeley, 3,260 votes, 2 in Muscatine. Jean Guy, 2,608 votes, 6 in Muscatine. Mark Holloway, 2,541 votes, 5 in Muscatine. Katarina Bolton, 2,341 votes, 2 in Muscatine. Carrie Dugan, 2,286 votes, 5 in Muscatine. Jennifer Starr, 2,188 votes, 2 in Muscatine. Lori Jenke, 2,128 votes, 2 in Muscatine. Michael Duvall, 2,003 votes, and 10 in Muscatine. Craig Piggott, 1,944 votes, 5 in Muscatine. Kai Dickman, 1,774 votes, 2 in Muscatine, and a scattering of 221 votes and 0 in Muscatine. Therefore, it was declared by the Board of Supervisors serving as the Board of Canvassers for Scott County, Iowa, that Karen Klein Jerome, Ken Postion, Linda Hayes, and Dan Gosa are duly elected to the Davenport School District for a term of 4 years.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to recognition of departing board members. Director Hayes, you want to take care of that?
I'd be happy to. Would you like to present to Julie? You want to present to Julie first?
Yeah.
Could both directors decide? Could both directors DeSalvo and President Johansson go up to the podium, and also Anthony DeSalvo as well?
Okay. You said me too? I guess.
In 2017, Director DeSalvo had the honor to give Mr. Anthony DeSalvo his diploma, so now kindness reciprocates. We would like Anthony DeSalvo to provide this to his mother, if she can hold up.
She's already got one. She took one over there.
Here, come up here.
Presented to Julie DeSalvo in appreciation for 4 years of outstanding service to the Davenport School Board.
She has to put it down because she has a whole lot to say.
She's got one of her papers and he hasn't spaced his.
Wow, wasn't ready for this. I thought I could hide behind my desk over there. It's really hard to believe that this day has come. 5 years ago, my son Anthony came to me with concerns about the district eliminating block scheduling. We attended public forums that the district held. We attended school board meetings and spoke during the open forums. During this time, we learned about the complexity of school finance and funding and quickly learned that the district was having to make these difficult budget decisions due to reductions in state funding for education. This is where we first learned about the inequity in funding from the state that Davenport had suffered from for so long. I was asked to hold an educational public forum to help educate others in the community about this funding inequity. The meeting went well, and we did get some people to attend. Following this, myself and another mom took 2 carloads of students to the Capitol to voice our concerns with the legislators to make the decisions about school funding. Prior to this, my son Anthony and one of his teachers were discussing school funding, and they came up with the slogan, "I'm worth less." We saw the t-shirt tonight. And the students that came up with us to the Capitol wore those t-shirts that said, "I'm worth less." Representative Cindy Winkler walked us down to the floor. You could have heard a pin drop. Boy, did we make a statement that day. We had no idea the impact that visit had, and probably never will. The Worthless campaign continues on, I believe. I could not be more proud of those kids and the manner they conducted themselves that day. These are Davenport students. You made a difference. Your voices were heard. Never forget that. Not too long after that, I was asked to run for the school board. I turned Rich Kluhl down many times. I turned people down asking several times. I soon learned that there were 4 seats open and only 3 people on the ballot. When I was finally convinced to run, it was too late to be on the ballot, so I had to run on a write-in campaign. Somehow that worked, and I was elected. I was truly humbled to be elected. This journey has run the gamut of emotions. There have been challenges, heart-wrenching decisions, difficult choices, incredibly rewarding experiences, and the opportunity to be involved with the most amazing and talented students and staff that you'll ever find. There are countless things that I am proud to have been a part of. Some of the recent things were, as mentioned tonight by the mayor and newly elected mayor, the memorandum of understanding with the city. Please keep that going. The partnership with the city makes us even stronger. This committee was a great team. We had a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed working with Carrie Jenkins and the recently elected Mayor Mike Mattson, as well as Director Potts, and of course, Mayor Klipsch. Working with the state has been a great learning opportunity. There are wonderful people there, and I'm grateful to have the chance to work with them. They truly want us to succeed. This means a great deal to me. Breakfast with Buddies at Fillmore, that was always such a fun event. The Pro Start fundraisers, again, it's all about food with me, but our students are amazing and are wonderful, wonderful chefs. The legislative committee, the trips to the Capitol, this was probably one of the very favorite things that I got to be a part of. We would take busloads of kids up to the Capitol, spend the day up there. We got to visit with the governor, the lieutenant governor, and our local legislators, and I was so proud always of those group of kids. It's a long day. They have to do it on President's Day, which is their day out of school, and they chose to spend it with us at the Capitol, so very meaningful. The honor of meeting the governor and the lieutenant governor on many occasions. They heard us, they know us, and have a lot of respect for them and the work that they have to do. The tours of schools and visiting classrooms, I just love being able to see our kids and being out there and with them every day, walking into the schools. We should all do it because it's amazing. The honor of leading the superintendent search, what a crazy time that was, but it was all worth it. Graduations are probably my favorite. As you can see, I cried at every single one. Our students just make me so proud. The greatest honor was giving my son Anthony his high school diploma. To the students in our district, they left, they had to get home, but you make me proud every moment of every day. You are talented and caring. Follow your dreams, be you, and go change the world. You make us all proud every day. Keep up the great accomplishments. You are getting the best education and opportunities here in Davenport. Take advantage of it all. Be good citizens and stay the course. You can do anything you set your minds to, and you have the most amazing teachers and staff here to support you all along the way. You are all amazing. You are not worth less and never will be. To the staff, the Davenport Community School District has the most talented and dedicated staff that I have ever seen. You are changing lives every day. You are making a difference. You matter, and you are by far the very best. To Mary Carruthers, thanks for all the Diet Pepsi. You are what makes this board run. You keep us organized, informed, and in line. You are a saint for all that you go through and do for the board. Thank you for all that you do and have done for me and all of us. You are a rock star, and we are all very much appreciative of you. To the staff, to Claudia Woods, Rob Scott, Bill Schnaden, Erica Goldstone, Jabari Woods, Mike Maloney, Corey Guy, Jennifer Boyd, Susan Downs, Sandy Schmidt, Tom Lane, Diana Whited, et cetera, et cetera. I know I missed a ton, but you are the best team that anyone could ever hope for. You will lead this district to a better place and to success. Thank you for your strength and for your belief in our district. To Dr. K, I'm so glad that I had the honor of getting to work with you, although too short of a time. You're going to lead this district to bigger and better. You are a great leader. Thank you for sticking with us. I look forward to watching all that is to come. It's going to be amazing. To TJ Schneckloff, you are my rock and my support. Somehow you always knew when to call and knew just what to say when I was struggling. Thank you for all that you did to keep this district running during incredibly difficult times. To the board members, it's been an honor serving with you. You have been my friends and my family for the last 4 years. Thank you for your friendship and support. Stay the course. You have many important, challenging times ahead. Only together will you be successful and strong. Thank you for the Kleenex at all graduations and tonight. And thank you for the support and friendship. I will miss you all very much. To my family, thank you for the support with all the adventures that I get into. My mom was a teacher for 42 years, most of which was with the Davenport Community School District at Wilson Elementary. Every time we're out somewhere, somebody comes up to say hi to their favorite teacher, Mrs. Lambert. Mom, you are my idol. Thanks for always being there. To my husband, Rodney, thanks for all you did while I was gone for school board meetings and events. You always support me and believe in me. You are my rock. I'm sorry to say, though, parties on Mondays are over. To my Anthony, you have made me so proud always. You are brilliant. You stand up when you believe in something. You are going to change this world. You make it a better place to be in all that you do. I cannot wait to see where you go next. The sky is the limit. It all started with your education here at the Davenport Community School District. Just one more page. To the community, thank you for the support over all these years. Your kindness has kept me going. Continue to support our schools and the community. Together, we will make it great. I am sorry if I missed anyone. There have been countless wonderful people along the way that I was lucky enough to work with. It's been a great honor to be a part of it all. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
We are so going to miss you, Jules. And I have the honor of presenting President Johansson, presented to President Johansson in appreciation for the 15 years of outstanding service to the Davenport School Board, Davenport Community Schools.
That's great, thank you.
You know, while I'm up here, I just want to say it's been a total honor working with both of you. Jules, I've known you forever, actually before Anthony was born. I remember seeing you pregnant with Anthony, and we became good friends. And now Anthony's graduated this year, this coming year in 2021. But that time has gone fast, and we'll stay in touch. And Ralph, thank you for everything that you've done. We haven't always agreed on things, but we've respectfully agreed to disagree, and we move forward. And thank you so much for your contributions to the board.
So thank you very much. And I do have a few comments. However, I'm going to sit down because I don't know if I could stand up for the whole time. I'll try and keep it somewhat brief. But I think there are some important things that I have to say.
Before you sit down, wait a minute. Mary has a presentation for you as well.
I found the perfect gift for you as a going away, since I've been board secretary the whole time that you've been president. And Linda and I had a laugh earlier this morning because the thing that you said right before the meeting started was, "Where's the gavel?" So, in honor of your of all your hard work and dedication, you now have your own engraved gavel.
Wow.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And we'll send them up. And it also has your name and how many years you served on the board and the number of years you served as board president.
Super.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mary. So this is, I would call it kind of a bittersweet moment. I've enjoyed almost all of the time serving on the board. And I'll try to be careful with what I say, but there are so many people to thank. You know, after having been in this position, in the position of board member and then as president for quite a while, you do have an opportunity to develop so many great relationships and do so many things. And so I apologize in advance. Oh, and I do have written comments that I'll try to mostly stick to. But I apologize in advance for any people that I've missed, as I figure there are hundreds in our community and state that deserve my appreciation. I apologize also in advance for the length of my comments, but I will never have an opportunity like this again. And after 15 years of service, I'm unabashed in taking a few minutes to express some of my thoughts. I may also make comments that some may disagree with this evening, or that may be alarming. I've tried to be careful, even to the point of being politically correct oftentimes. But tonight, I'm relaxing my constraint on myself at least a little bit. In everything we do, it's important to do the best we can. Right is right, and wrong is wrong. It's important to be careful not to do the politically correct thing just because it's easier, or it's given to us by politicians or others who may not understand reality. Before I make some of the comments, I do want to say thank you very much. First off, to my wife, Pam, who probably was grateful for all of the Mondays that I attended these meetings. But having been at it for so long, of course, there were times with my kids, Luke, Molly, and Lee, who are all adults and they're living all over the country now, but there certainly were times that board meetings took priority over some of the activities that I would have had with them. I want to talk a little bit about our board secretaries. When I first joined the board, our board secretary was Linda Smith Kortmeyer. And she loaned me a book, and it was really fascinating. It was on how to divide up a chocolate cake fairly. And it's kind of a long story, and I won't tell the whole thing, but it'll give you an idea of the essence of the book. And the setting was at a college class, and the teacher brought in a cake and asked, how do we split it up? Now, in the class, there were 10 people. There were 4 girls and 6 boys. You split it up evenly into 10 pieces, 1 piece for each student. Do you split it up evenly, half for the girls and half for the boys? What about the student who doesn't get to eat the cake because it's got gluten in it? What about the student who doesn't eat or want a piece because they're on a diet? What about the student who wasn't there that day? There were about 15 different scenarios in this book, and when you read through it and you start thinking about what is fairness, it sometimes is really, really challenging. And being on this board, there are a lot of those types of issues. The board members get involved in some amazing situations. Abigail, I think, this evening was talking about the different types of programs that we may or may not have in the district. And those are things that the board struggles with. The board struggles with budgets. The board struggles with a 10-year plan. How much money are we going to give this school or that school? There are just so many issues, and trying to divide up all that money. And the money that this district gets is close to $20 million a year that it has to apportion out to all of the different projects and activities that we have in the district. And the board has to be as fair as it can. After Linda, we had a board secretary, Lynette Carver. And Lynette was, she was just fascinating. Her husband flies for Lifeline. I think he flies a helicopter for emergencies, and they lived here for a while, and then they ended up moving to Des Moines because of his work. One of the things that Lynette did was she helped to decrease some of the workload for the board secretary by looking at doing things with softwares and things like that. And then there's Mary. And Mary and I have been together much longer than I realized until she told me about it this morning. And I think she said we've been together like 9 years, which seems like a long time, you know? But board secretaries do so much. She and a couple of additional board members helped convert our board from paper packets to digital packets. So we have laptops up here. We didn't used to. We used to get packets of material. It was probably over an inch thick. And we would get those on a, whatever day it was, Thursday or something. And you read a 1-inch thick packet of materials over the weekend, studying for the Monday night meeting. That's tough. And it wasn't easy to get to the point where we have laptops. And with the laptops, then of course there's software that's required so that she can handle all of the paperwork. There's a tremendous amount of work that goes into preparing for these meetings, and in fact for all meetings. Any extra meeting that we have, the board secretary has to arrange all that. Try to get 7 board members together at an odd time. Try to get additional people. You may have administrators, you may have parents, a lot of things that happen, but it's very, very difficult. And a lot of people, all the board members have had to put up with me, but I think Mary probably has had to put up with me the most. And because I typically would call her up on a daily basis to say, where are we on this? What about that? She's usually a step or two ahead of me in my thinking. And she's thought it out and has the arguments about why I'm wrong. And she can, though, respectfully disagree with me on just about anything. I'm sure that I have confounded her plenty. And so I wrote in my paper here, it's not quite true. I said I did get a small token of my appreciation. So she can remember me in the future when I'm not there. I didn't get around to it today, and so it's coming tomorrow. But I really do appreciate all of our board secretaries, and I will sincerely miss Mary. Our board members are absolutely amazing, and the amount of dedication that goes into this. Some of them you've heard from tonight. Rich Kluel was on the board way before I was, and I had the opportunity to work with him on legislative advocacy. He and then Ken Crumwitty and I actually were working on a book, and the book was, the essence of it was the effect of relationships on happiness. And now that those two are off and I'm going to be off, we're going to pick that book back up and try to continue it. Pat Zamora, some of you heard her name tonight. She's a leader in our community as well. And she did help us with giving us some of those freedoms to do that work. Jamie Snyder made some comments earlier, and he was on our board for, I think, one term, if I remember right, but he contributed a lot, and he worked especially in the area of changing some of our original paper documents to digital. Larry Robertson, an absolutely incredible person. He and I, as he mentioned up here, we certainly didn't always agree, but I think that we always had respectful discussions. And sometimes he would share things with me. For instance, I'll tell you, there are differences between us Caucasians and African Americans and the experiences that we all go through. And he was able to, and Director Mayfield was able to help me understand some of those differences. What is it really like out there? And those are things that probably are really difficult to just kind of know, but having somebody explain is something that is really, really helpful. You still might not deeply understand it, but at least you start developing an appreciation. And then there's Nikki DeFoe. Nikki DeFoe and I have had just an absolutely wonderful relationship during all that time and beyond. Nikki was the person that originally got me to thinking about getting on the board. And so that goes way, way back. And frankly, I don't even remember exactly how she did it, but she did it. And she also inspired me to run for president of the board. And so I'm deeply, deeply grateful for Nikki, for her friendship, and for everything she's done. Again, there's so many people I think about, and there are a couple of comments that I want to make, and that, so I don't want to take too much time, but the staff and administration, teachers, our student board members are really special. And every year they're a little bit different. And sometimes you have those students that are here, they're here every night, and sometimes we're going till 10 o'clock at night. And these students are still here, and then they gotta go do their homework. Some of these students are amazing. We have a lot of fantastic parents in our district. There's certain media people that over the years we have to work with all the media, whether it's newspaper, radio, TV, and you get questions. Sometimes you're at an event and you get questions about it. There are so many things that go on. In our state, we have a number of amazing and outstanding organizations. We have the Iowa Association of School Boards. We have the Iowa ISFIS. It's, I think it's Iowa State Financial, or Iowa Schools Financial Information Systems. And this actually developed out of the IASB, and it's led by 3 people that are the principals, and I'll mention one of them in a minute. The SBRC is the School Budget Review Committee. It's a committee of the state that kind of has oversight over the budget that we prepare. And for the past 3 or 4 years, I've had to go to those meetings, and it's interesting because you develop relationships even with those people. And even though it may seem kind of adversarial at times, they genuinely want to help our district, and they genuinely want us all to succeed. In those organizations that I just mentioned, I've had an opportunity to have great relationships with 3 different people that I have to highlight. One is Lisa Bartusik. She's the chief executive at the IASB. She used to work for the IASB, and then I think she went to the National School Board Association and then came back to the IASB. Bob Olson is the president, I think, of the Rural School Advocates of Iowa, which is an organization that we belong to as well. We have an interesting mix of rural and urban, and I guess suburban to some extent, schools. And so our advocacy is for all students, of course, but Bob is just a wonderful, wonderful person that helped in getting the rural schools on board to help us with our efforts on equality. In the, I'll tell you, in the rural school districts, there are a lot of districts that have had to be combined over the years. He's in a district that it's Goldfield, Dow's, Clarion, I think. Anyway, there are 3 districts, and they were combined over the years. His district has, I think, about 353 square miles of district. And you can imagine the busing required for that is outrageous. Their average busing cost is well over $1,000 per student. In our district, we have 109 square miles with about 14,000 students. Oh, and I failed to say, his district, I think, has probably around 2,000. But the point is that some of the costs that those smaller districts in our great state of Iowa, the challenges that those districts have is that their transportation costs come out of the same general budget as all of the money that we need to pay our employees, our teachers, all of that. And so as you take money out for transportation, you don't have that money to pay to your employees. And then Margaret Buckton. Margaret Buckton, I think, is unlike any other person I've ever met. She understands school boards, school districts. In her previous work at IASB, she used to go out and talk to every single district in the state. She's been a lobbyist at the Capitol. She was a board member on the Des Moines School Board. So she really understands what's going on. And I rely on her a lot. In our community, I think about the city leaders, and I listed 3 city leaders here. I listed Mayor Gluba, Mayor Klipsch, and Vera Kelly. And, you know, the mayors are really important, and the work that we do with the city, between the city and the district, and the things that you've heard about, the collaboration, is really, really important. And I think that those steps will help our whole community. Vera Kelly is one of the most amazing people I can imagine ever. You know, she makes me feel like a slug sometimes. She gets up at like 5 o'clock and she goes to the gym and works out for an hour. Now she's retired from Alcoa. She's retired. She does all that. And then I guess she goes and gets cleaned up, and then she does prison ministry. And it's like, whoa. And then she's oftentimes at our meetings. She's been the president of the NAACP for as long as I can remember. And it's just that she's always doing something. She's a leader in our community, and anybody would do well to emulate Vera Kelly. There are a lot of business leaders that I've had an opportunity to meet over the years. A lot of organization leaders. You know, one of them that I listed here is Farm Bureau. So as we worked on equality and equity, the Farm Bureau actually, if you look at their resolutions, they are very, very strongly supportive of education resolutions. Now, sometimes there will be a difference of thinking on how we, you know, which money do we use? There's tax issues and all of that. But as an organization, they are right there. They're solidly supportive of education. The students, can't say enough good about them. Our legislators, I guess I would say I have mixed thoughts on our legislators. But eventually, years back, we used to have a local option sales tax in Davenport. And eventually, there were state initiatives that were supported by a lot of different organizations. But the legislators eventually got us the 1 penny sales tax, which is useful to every district in the state of Iowa. And that's where our district, for instance, that 1 penny of sales tax generates almost $15 million a year. And that goes to support our infrastructure, to support the buildings and projects and things like that. Eventually, in the past 2 years, they got not equity, but a significant amount of equity on transportation costs that I just mentioned. And eventually, we got some equality on per pupil spending. They've given $5 per year for at least the past 2 years on equalization. Now, at that rate of change, it'll take about 33 years to get to equality. And equality, the way we look at it, is that the per pupil spending is equalized throughout the state, and every student would have the same amount of spending. I don't want to get into the drudgery that would probably bore all of you, but over the years, we calculated that the amount of spending that Davenport didn't have was about $140 million because of that law. And that's what, when we mentioned the worthless campaign that Anthony was working on, that's what it was. Let's be equal. And it wasn't I'm worthless, it's I'm worth less. And it was really, really important. And there's a picture that we had when Dr. Tate was reading his note from March of 2015, and I think 3 of the students were standing behind him. I think Anthony was one, and there were 2 other of his colleagues. It seems like common sense to me that all Iowans would want equal per pupil spending, but that's not true. A law that was established in the 70s disadvantaged a minority of school districts in the state. Those that could spend more, and this is a direct quote that I got from somebody, they appreciated the competitive advantage that they had over Davenport, our district, by being able to spend more. So why would they want to support equalization throughout the state? I was floored at that comment. That meant to me that that person And I think there were a number of them, but they weren't for equality. And I'm going to talk about equality and fairness in a minute. Why would they want equalization? That would only be a moral thing. Dr. Tate risked his reputation and license by making a point to the state about the inequality. I believe that inequality is wrong. Maybe it was important when the law was changed back in the 70s, but today there is no good reason to maintain inequality if we know that inequality is wrong. Let's make it right. Some of the things, if I were to list all of the great things that happened while I was on the board, it'd take quite a while, but there were three that I think were big. One of them was several years ago. We had a program up at Kimberly Center, which is kind of up by the Village Shopping Center, and it's by the Kentucky Fried place up there. And the board had a strong sense of, let's make that into a high school, not just a program. And so eventually, that's what happened. And it's trying to recognize the importance of those students, that they are important. Every student is important. Another thing that's happened over the past 2 years is the career technical readiness. That moved from an idea to a reality. And thinking about the future and what do we need to do to prepare our students to be good citizens and to prepare them for the jobs of the future. And this is one of the things that we can do. When you look at goals back in the past, and one of the goals that I was looking at, I forget when it was, but it was to prepare kids for college. And that may not be the right thing to do any longer. It may be, let's prepare them with the education so that they can go on to be productive citizens. Another one that was mentioned tonight, but when I hear it from parents, is the dual graduation program and the amount of money that saves for students, and it allows students to start college with an associate's degree. Speaking on behalf of the board can be tricky. And the board sometimes gets into discussions about speaking on behalf of the board. And it's fraught with danger. It really is. And I will say that I've talked with the media a number of times about different things, and there was one editor that I talked to years back, and that editor said, I will never play gotcha, but sometimes they do. And I won't even say what's printed on my page here, but I will say that sometimes it makes sense, the old adage of don't believe everything you read. Parents and families. These people are so important. They're crucial in a student's life, including in education, ethics, morals, values. And this is a really important point, I believe, and I'm going to make three of them. But I think that parents are critical. And it's wrong for any of us in the education community, whether it's at the federal level, at the state level, at the district level. I believe that it's wrong for us to disavow parents and families, especially with respect to all of this. We can't do everything. Schools and teachers are not equipped to provide all of this to every student. We should acknowledge and value the importance of parents and families and work in concert with them to help our students be the absolute best they can be. Teachers. I believe that our core mission in the district is to teach and educate and to help our students learn. So when I think about that, everything in the district that we do should ultimately support teaching. Every job function, every para, every bus driver, every custodian, and because all of us should be helping to educate kids. I think that what we need to do, and this is just my thinking, it's not, you know, I'm hoping that there's certain things that we'll be able to do in the future, but I think everything that we do needs to have a focus on ultimately supporting teaching and teachers. The teachers are the ones that are out there doing the hard work with the students. And I'm going to talk in a minute about what they do, but I believe that we should all respect everybody, but we should all, and this includes our community, we should all especially respect and perhaps revere teachers. I've got a couple of quotes about teachers, but just some thoughts. They have the most important job in the world. Now, a couple of these were not written by me. Most everything has been. They help underachievers to fly and keep overachievers grounded. They listen, coach, and mentor. They make the mundane extraordinary. They simplify the complex. They teach us life skills. They educate us, and they inspire us. Albert Einstein said, "It's the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge." Aristotle said, "The one exclusive sign of thorough knowledge is the power of teaching." Chuck Norris, he says, "In America, the schools have become too permissive. The kids now are controlling the schools. The tail is wagging the dog. We've got to make a change there and get it back to where the teachers have control of the classrooms." I believe that we should do everything we can to make teachers' jobs relevant, fulfilling, and exciting. We should do everything we can to remove impediments to teaching, like excessive paperwork, perhaps excessive testing, especially standardized tests. We should support teachers' values and thinking. We can provide training and professional development, but it's wrong to assume that teachers do not have the integrity and wherewithal to make proper judgments about how and when to discipline students. I've got a book here that I'm only going to read a couple of excerpts. I have several excerpts that I've highlighted, but for a number of reasons, I'm not going to read them tonight. I think tonight is mostly a celebration. But I will tell you a little bit about the book. So the book is called Why Meadow Died. And Meadow was one of the young girls that was shot in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting in 2018 in Broward County, Florida, where there were 17 students that were killed. And when I got the book, I got it for other reasons, but as I read through it, there were so many things, and I'm going, this is just stunning. And like I say, I'm only going to read a little bit, and they are direct quotes. The first part that I'm reading is from the father. And you can imagine what that must be like. How horrible would that be to have your daughter killed in a situation like that? He says, "I wanted to know everything about why the shooting happened, so I launched an investigation. The more I learned, the less I could believe how much incompetence there was. I truly mean that. It didn't even make sense how everyone in Broward County could have been so incompetent. But eventually I figured out the explanation: political correctness." Just to give you an idea of what happened, the shooter there was visited he had 45 police visits to his home. he had 3 recommendations for institutionalization. And what happened is that all of those were kind of pushed aside because that district wanted to have better statistics. And then one of the key sentences in this book that really grabbed me and made me really think about it, it says, this book is about the Broward County School District. And when you're up here as a board member, you do think about the district. You think about the students. You think about everything going on. And it's like, wow. And there's so much going on. And it talks about the importance of teachers. And like I say, for a lot of reasons, I'm not going to read most of that. I'll show you how I highlighted. I highlighted most of the book, I think. But he goes on to say Parkland was the most avoidable mass shooting in American history. And he said this student, the thing is that the shooter, he said, needed help. He wasn't even that upset with the shooter. Certainly he was. But he says the shooter was never going to be a model citizen, but it truly took a village to raise him into a school shooter. And so I'll get off that because there's something else that's much more important. But I do think he talks about learning from history, which I think is important. And there are some history lessons from Parkland. My last comments have been a concern that I intend to follow on, even if I'm not part of the board. I believe that the board has a responsibility to assure that it is doing everything it can to provide for the best educational opportunities for every single student. I think that the board's hands are tied legally and by policy in some respects. I think the board needs to figure out a manner in which to address what I consider to be a critical requirement. It needs to do what's right, even if current laws and policies may not currently allow that to be done. I do believe that there need to be consequences for bad behavior and actions. And some of these may warrant expulsion of the student. Perhaps it's prudent to remove the student from the building. After 15 years of reflection and thinking about expulsions, my thinking has modified a bit. And I believe, and again, this is just personal, there may be nobody out there that agrees with me, but I think it is wrong to remove the student from education. So I don't have the answers. I don't know how you do it. There's, like I say, there's some specific legal issues, there's specific policy issues. But when I think about every student and every student as being valuable, and for board members, when you go through it, it's excruciating to go through this and to think about what happened with that student, what happened with all of these things that happened. And then you make a judgment to expel a student. An expulsion, according to the way the law is set up, it means you take that student out of school. You disallow the student from going to school, from education, the dollars, all of these things disappear. That student doesn't have the opportunity. I mean, there are a few little things that they might be able to do, and there are things the board tries to do to give some of that. But what I'm talking about is why not figure a way to help students that are put into that terrible situation, figure a way to help them continue their education, even if it isn't necessarily at that building. I think there are new technologies available that might be able to be used, and I don't want to get too far out into the weeds on this, but as I've thought about it, the way our laws were set up, they were set up a long time ago. And right now in the state of Iowa, the way I understand it, we have 2 school districts that offer online courses. Now, when we expel a student, the student isn't eligible to be enrolled into another district. And so that's one of the challenges that a board or district would have with this. But I believe that those students should have opportunities to be creative and thoughtful and to keep up with learning. Sure, it would be hard work, but can any of you imagine a year or more without having anything to do? It would be horrible. So, I hope that wasn't too much of a downer, the last part, but it's just, I feel so passionate about this. Every student, and I know every board member here, believes so much in every single student in our district. We really do. And I would guess that every single board member would tell you that the worst part of this job is expulsions. All right, thank you very much. I'll tell you, the Vice President just told me to cut my remarks, so I'm not going to say anything more except to thank you all. Like I say, it's hard to thank everybody, but I'm so serious. It's been a wonderful experience for me. I've learned a ton. I hope that I've contributed in making good differences for the district and for our students. And I want to say good luck to our new board, which will be put on the board here shortly, and to all of our teachers, and especially to all of our students. Thank you very much.
We've gone a little over our normal break time, so we're going to take about 5 minutes and then we'll come back.
Are we going to have a chance to say thank you?
No, not yet.
Oh,
Not
that's later. Okay.
Yeah, she
We're
just
gonna
wants to take a
about-
5-minute break.
About 5 minutes and we'll get back and start in on the oath.
Let's go ahead and finish this and get the new board seated.
Okay, I'm shutting it out. Peace out. Mic drop.
We're getting ready to administer actually the oath of office, but before that, we're going to allow board members to recognize and thank departing board members.
Oh, no more tears.
You won't get tears from mine, don't worry. Any board members that want to make comments, you can make comments about either of the departing members, and then we'll move on to the oath of office. Director Beck.
I do not have prepared comments. I didn't type out 8 pages. But I did want to say first to Julie, to Director DeSalvo, that you have been a very good role model as I started on the board. You are a great example of what a board member should be, somebody who's really engaged, really diligent, pays attention to every email, looks at all the documents, and is a vocal advocate for our kids. And so I really appreciate that. And you don't take yourself too seriously either, which is good. So I'm going to miss sitting next to you. But thank you so much for your service. And I know I tried to get you to run for reelection a couple times, but, and then to President Johansson, I also wanted to thank you for your service. You've been a mentor of sorts, I think, sort of explaining to me how things are supposed to work, me being new to the board, before each new kind of meeting, making sure that I understood what was going to be going on. Always taking time to tell me that you valued my opinion and if you thought I was doing a good job, which I really appreciated. And indeed, we've also had a couple arguments. I think that's a theme here. But we agree on some things. We don't agree on others. And I think that's actually a really good thing to have on a board such as this, is to have a diversity of opinions. And so I just wanted to say thank you and appreciate your service. And I think your cow tie is pretty awesome.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Director Gosa.
I want to thank you both for your time on the board. Ralph, ever since Rich left the board, we don't stop at Whitey's after the meetings anymore, but they go a little bit longer.
Open your cards.
Right? I seen that. I like that. Director DeSalvo, I was glad to be a part of seeing you give Anthony his diploma and him give you your award tonight too. So that was a great thing. I'm going to miss having to make sure you had Kleenexes during graduations. I do appreciate you when we would go to the Capitol, keeping me in line a little bit. And I do need a copy of that picture too, of me and the governor.
Yes, I will send it to you.
And President Johansson, we've met outside the board and talked about things and stuff like that. You are a little long-winded and takes you a little bit to get to your point, and I tried to coach him on it. It just didn't work. But I do appreciate everything you guys have done. And thank you for your service, and good luck to you in your future endeavors. Probably at home watching Monday Night Football or something.
Probably. Thank you very much. Anybody else? I have a couple of comments. Hey, it's less than 42 minutes, I'll tell you that. No, somebody told me. I thought it was only about 20 minutes, but anyway, I have a couple of comments about Julie DeSalvo, and I am going to read these because I forgot exactly what I wrote. One of my most vivid memories of Julie is when she was presenting to our community at Mid-City, and she made a presentation on equality and per pupil spending in the state of Iowa. She did a bang-up job and helped further the cause. I remember a state senator that I spoke to that evening, and he said to me, he says, well, you know what? Legislators can't handle more than one issue at a time. So we, education, have to pick. Do we want equality or do we want allowable growth? And allowable growth, of course, is what every other district in the state is trying to get. That's that 2% or whatever we get, and we all get that. It had nothing to do with equality, though. Anyway, she went on to continue the good work of Rich Kluhl and Ken Crumwitty in continuing to pursue equality for all students in the state. Her son. He left.
Sorry.
It's okay, I'm going to read it anyway.
Grandma had it.
A brilliant young man, Anthony, created and led the now famous or infamous I'm Worth Less campaign. Some board members occasionally get credit for that campaign, and I think that political reality continues to this day. Julie has always been passionate about the kids in the district, and especially is watchful for equalities, even in how we spend money within the district, trying to make sure we divvy up the new projects and address projects that need to be addressed at certain schools. Julie has been a stalwart supporter of energy savings, although she never became a supporter for solar power, which would be installed in the district at our buildings. Julie and Allison co-led the most recent superintendent search. Few people know this, but Julie spent 5 days of her personal vacation time to work, manage, deal with all of the issues required to handle that endeavor. Additionally, she spent Saturdays and other time to participate in the search. Julie has been a most wonderful board member, a strong voice for doing the right thing, a very persuasive voice for promoting her views. Julie has been a great example for board members to emulate as they move forward. Thank you, Julie, for everything you've done for the board, the district, and especially for all students. Thank you. That's all I got. All right. So with that, I think we can move on to the oath of office. Mary, you want to take care of that? And I think, oh, you administer the oath, and then Julie and I can get up and leave. Okay, go ahead.
Karen, would you come, Karen Klein Jerome, could you come forward, please?
When's Thanksgiving?
You guys.
I will administer your oath of office as a. Yes, yes. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Karen Klein Jerome, do solemnly swear. I, Karen Klein Jerome, do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of Iowa. And the Constitution of the State of Iowa. And that I will faithfully and impartially. And that I will faithfully and impartially. To the best of my ability. To the best of my ability. Discharge all the duties of the office. Discharge all the duties of the office. Of Davenport School Board Director. Davenport School Board Director. In the county of Scott, Iowa, or now or hereafter required by law. In the county of Scott, Iowa. As now or hereafter required by law. As of now and after required by law. All right. Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay. Karen, I'm out of here. If you want to.
And Director Klein Jerome, here's your oath of office, and you'll just need to sign this, and you can bring it back in, and we can have it notarized. And then here's your certificate.
Okay.
And then every board member gets the Iowa Obedience laws.
Yay.
Okay. Kent Poshton, could you come forward, please? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Kent Poshton,
I, Kent Poshton,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of the office of Davenport School Board Director
discharge all the duties of Director of Davenport Schools,
in the county of Scott, Iowa,
County of Scott, Iowa,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now or hereafter is required by law.
Congratulations. And here is your oath of office. And if you will sign that and then bring it back in and notarize, and then here's your certificate. Oh, go ahead and take your seat at that table over here. Linda, please stand. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Linda Hayes, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that I will faithfully and impartially, to the best of my ability, discharge all the duties of the office of Davenport School Board Director in the County of Scott, Iowa, as now or hereafter required by law. Congratulations. Director Gosa, would you come forward, please? Raise your right hand and repeat after me.
Yes, ma'am.
I, Dan Gosa,
I, Dan Gosa,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties
discharge all the duties
of the office of Davenport School Board Director
of the office of Davenport School Board Director
in the County of Scott, Iowa,
in the County of Scott, Iowa,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now or hereafter required by law.
Congratulations. And here's yours. All right, congratulations to the new board. Now it is time to conduct the election of officers. Am I correct, or do we have something else?
I need to adjourn.
Adjourn.
I need to
Oh,
adjourn.
sorry.
May I have a motion to adjourn the organizational meeting? Signed you.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The organizational meeting is now adjourned, and we'll go into the organization of the new board.
All right. The first order of business for the organization of the new board is to nominate a temporary chairperson. As the board secretary, it is my responsibility to assist the board with the election of officers for a 1-year period of time. I will first ask for a nomination for temporary chair to conduct the election meeting. Nominations do not require a second. May I have a nomination for temporary chair? Director Beck.
I move that Mary Carruthers be temporary chair.
Is it the consensus of the board to ask me, Mary Carruthers, to serve as temporary chair? All in favor, raise your hand. All right, I therefore declare myself, Mary Carruthers, to serve as temporary chair for the election of officers. Okay. I will now explain the voting process. The rules of order for the voting process for the election of officers is as follows. If there is more than one nomination, the board automatically casts their votes for president and vice president by a signed written ballot. We will use the Roman system for this process if there are more than 2 people nominated. If there are 3 nominations for an office, there will be the first vote by written ballot, and the person with the highest number of votes will not be included in the second ballot. The second vote will be between those receiving the lower number of votes. The winner of the second ballot will then challenge the person with the higher votes from the first ballot. If there are 2 or more people nominated, each person will be given a few minutes to share their reasons why they should be elected to the office prior to taking the vote. Following their comments, the written vote will be held using the rules discussed. Any questions? If there is only one nomination, are the remaining board members willing to cast their vote by roll call or by written ballot? I will call each of your names, and you will either say roll call or written ballot. If there is no consensus, it will automatically default to written ballot. So what I'm asking here is, if we just have one nomination, do you want it to be conducted roll call or written ballot? Director Poston.
Roll call.
Okay. Director Gosa?
Roll call.
Director Beck?
Roll call.
Director Klein-Jerome?
Roll call.
Director Hayes?
Roll call.
Director Mayfield?
Roll call.
Director Potts?
Roll call.
Therefore, if we have only one nomination, we will have consensus by roll call. I will conduct the election of president at this time. May I have a nomination for the office of president? Director Gosa.
I would like to nominate Linda Hayes.
Director Hayes, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Are there any other nominations for the office of president? Director Beck.
I'd like to nominate Bruce Potts.
Director Potts, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Are there any other nominations for the office of president? Hearing no more nominations, the nominations are declared closed. So what we'll do now then is have a written ballot. Each board member will receive a ballot. You write who you vote for, if you could print your last name, and then sign the ballot for me. And Dr. Kabilski will pass out the ballots, and then we'll fold them in half and then bring them back.
Mary,
Oh, yes,
They-
I'm sorry.
don't
I'm
they get
sorry.
to give their
Yes, I
speeches?
do that almost every time.
okay.
I apologize. Director Potts, would you like to say a few words about why you would like to be president?
Yes, I would
Okay.
like to be president. And I just think that it would be important for us to have a fresh start now. We have a lot of serious problems ahead of us. We need to reach some consensus as a board. I'm hoping that the training that we'll be receiving from the Iowa School Board Association will help create a more cohesive group of folks. We can set some common goals, and we can all be on the same page as much as possible. It's not going to be 100% on the same page, but I think it's essential for us going forward to present as united front and rebuild our trust with the public and with our staff.
Thank you, Director Potts. Director Hayes, would you like to say a few words?
I would. I do agree with what Director Potts has said. We do need to move forward in trust with the community on a whole. I do feel that as the senior member on the board, I've been here for 4 years and 8 months, that this basically is the beginning of my second term after being appointed after Director Sherwood's seat became vacant. Now that President Johansson is gone, I am the senior member here on the board. The majority of the things that we do is a few in my entire 4 years and 8 months. I've missed maybe 2 or 3 expulsion hearings. I'm always here for the things that we have, a lot of information that has gone through that I am aware of with the students. I do the school visits and enforce positive behaviors with them and encourage a lot of them to take the high road, especially when we're in expulsion hearings, whatever's going on. I do give the opportunity for those students to kind of see where they are, what they've done, and use that time as coaching towards them to help them understand what they've done. Also, a lot of them are not they need to know that they're not the product of their environment. Anytime I have the opportunity in visits and students misbehaving, I try to enforce that you're not really needing to be who you think people think or want you to be. I volunteer with a lot of the programs with 100 Black Men at Wood. I do transport some of the students back to Sudlow after that program because their transportation source has kind of fell through. So I do make sure that they get back to the school. I've been vice president for 2 years, and with that, there's a lot of issues that have come forward that Director Johansson and I have not even openly discussed, but there's a lot of things going on that I feel that I would like to continue on with that venture, and I stay in touch with the community. We're dealing with disproportionality issues, and some of those issues only seem to reflect one side of our community. But I try to make myself visible in all facets of the community to see what's going on with the people and what is actually needed. I'm sure everyone is aware of all the controversial issues that we've had during the past year. And I'm not one to fold or break under pressure. Anybody knows me knows that I have integrity, and everything you read, as Director Johansson said in the past, is not necessarily true. You don't always have both sides of the story. So, I realize reporters have to write their stories, whether it's one-sided or not, and I don't have a problem with that. Everybody's entitled to their own individual preferences. And right now, I feel with what's going on with the Lincoln School issue and the audits that are going on, everyone has to do their job. We all work together. Our main goal is to kind of stand on what we believe, work with administration, work with the state, and get us back on track where we need to be. And I'm hoping, we'll look upon this as, a learning experience where we're a model for the state as well as for the nation.
Thank you very much. Dr. Gabilski will now pass out the ballots.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't give me two. This isn't Chicago. Got a collection basket there. You make a few bucks.
I vote for Director Hayes as president from Director Gosa. I vote for Bruce Potts as president, Director Klein Jerome. I vote for Bruce Potts as president, Director Potts. I vote for Director Potts, Director Poschin. I vote for Bruce Potts, Director Beck. I vote for Linda Hayes as president, Director Hayes. I vote for Linda Hayes, Director Mayfield. We have 3 votes for Director Hayes and 4 votes for Director Potts. Therefore, I declare Director Potts as president of the Davenport School Board until November 2020. Congratulations. I will now conduct the election for vice president. May I have a nomination for the office of vice president? Director Hayes.
I nominate Director Gosa for vice president.
Director Gosa, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Are there any other nominations for the office of vice president? Director Potts?
I nominate Director Beck.
Director Beck, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
Are there any other nominations for the office of Vice President? Hearing no more nominations, the nominations are declared closed. This time I won't forget. Director Beck, would you like to say a few words about why you would like to be Vice President?
We're all very passionate about being on the board. We wouldn't be here if we weren't. And so that is not, that's one thing that we all have in common. I think right now we are under a dose of scrutiny that we aren't normally under and haven't been under, or that we weren't under last year at this time. And I think it's time that we have a fresh start with fresh leadership. And I think that I would be a good fit for the position in that regard.
Thank you, Director Beck. Director Gosa, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah. So I've been on the board for 4 years, and in 4 years, and I checked with Mary on this, I've only missed 2 meetings. 2 meetings. I call in when I have to. I'm very dedicated to this district, otherwise I wouldn't do this stuff. I'm a graduate of this district. I've lived in Davenport my entire life. I have 3 students that are currently enrolled in this district and 1 that will be coming up in a few years. When my oldest graduates, my youngest will be starting. I'm very passionate about this. I try to be as active as I can. I've worked with Director DeSalvo on the legislative advocacy. I'm pretty well versed in talking to the politicians and stuff like that, and I think that's something that we need, because we need to get back a better rapport with our legislators, so maybe we can make some progress, and it is an election year for them. One of the other things, obviously everybody knows I'm very vocal at the meetings. I'm not part of the good old boys club, and I'm tired of that mentality, and we need to change some things and do some things. We need to start with checks and balances of our administrators, make sure that they're getting all their evaluations that we are cited for to get that done. We need someone that's going to push that, and everybody knows that I'm very vocal and adamant about that. I feel I would be a good fit for this. I've critiqued my work schedule, so I'm a lot more flexible, and I'm in town a lot more. And again, I'll say I'm very passionate about this. In my job, I cover the whole Midwest region, so that means I could drop into any school district anywhere. I went into them in Kansas and stuff like that just to see how things go and how different areas are working. So I will leave it at that.
Thank you, Director Gosa. Dr. Kabilski will now pass out the ballots.
Thank you. Thank you.
I vote for Allison Beck. Director Beck? I vote for Director Gosa, Clyde Mayfield. I vote for Director Beck, Director Poston. I vote for Director Beck, Director Potts. I vote for Director Gosa, Director Hayes. I vote for Dan Gosa, Director Klein Jerome. I vote for Director Gosa. Director Gosa. We have 3 votes for Director Beck and 4 votes for Director Gosa. I therefore declare Director Gosa as Vice President of the Davenport School Board for the until November 2020. Congratulations. All right. I will now administer the oath to the President and Vice President. And I think that we have on the schedule that we'll rearrange the seats permanently at the next meeting. Is that correct? Okay. Director Potts, President Potts, would you like to stand and raise your right hand, please? I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States
to support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties of the Office of School Board President
discharge the office of School Board President
in the Davenport Community School District
in the Davenport Community School District
as now or hereafter required by law.
What?
As now
Is now
or hereafter required by
and
law.
hereafter required by law.
Congratulations. And I will have a thing for you to sign later. Vice President Gosa, please stand and raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States
to support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the Office of School Board Vice President
of the Office of School Board Vice President
in the Davenport Community School District
in the Davenport Community School District
as now
is now
or hereafter required by law. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I now turn the chair back over to the president. And I think the only thing that we have left to do is for Bruce to get the gavel and adjourn the meeting.
The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
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 We're adjourned.